The game has only just begun. Radio silence directors Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette are back for round 2 with their new horror comedy film, Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. Samara Weaving returns as Grace, the battle-worn and bloody bride, and is joined by stars Katherine Newton, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Sean Hattasey, Nestor Carbonell, David Cronenberg, and Elijah Wood. After Grace marries into a mysterious family and is forced to play a life-or-death game of hide-and-seek, she emerges victorious. But what she didn't know is that by winning, she triggered a whole new twisted battle. This time with her estranged sister Faith at her side, the duo faces a shadowy group of rival devil-worshipping families who control the world, and they must fight to the bloody death for the ultimate prize. 2 times the kills, 2 times the satanic rituals, and 2 times the human combustion. Don't miss the full tilt insanity, Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, when it hits theaters March 20th.
I hate to say it, but his parents have been feeling unwell as of late, and I'm staying with them to help take care of Alex.
Oh, so that's serious.
Oh, no, it's not serious, nothing terminal. It's just a touch of consumption.
And welcome back to Horror Queers. We're talking, does violence interest you? We're talking The Princess and the Dwarf. And we're talking giving the audience what they want. And I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace, and we're talking, is she dead? What a question. He blew her brains out.
Ooh.
Ugh, I know. Everybody, we are discussing Alejandro Amenábar's 1996 film Thesis, or if you're like me and had a lot of trouble finding this on Shudder, you have to search for its Spanish name, Tesis, without the H.
Yes, yeah, and happy 30th anniversary to this film from its Spanish premiere.
Oh my, a film that I think, Joe, I first heard about this film when we covered the others, because I pulled it up in my production history for Amenábar, and I was so intrigued by it, but that was like 2 years ago, right?
It was at least 2 years ago.
Yeah. But I remember I was talking to my husband about it, and he was like, oh, that sounds really interesting. So he just went and bought it. And
right.
I've owned this thing for 2 years, never touched it until now.
There we go. You know what? We're just crossing them off the list one title at a time. But yeah, folks, if you have forgotten, Amenábar is a queer director. So that's part of the reason that we're covering this film. And also just because it's kind of an unheralded gem. Like, I forgot how much I really, really like this movie.
Oh, yeah. I really like this. Because this wasn't your first time watching this, right?
No, I watched this back in the day. I think it was one of those... I started film school and I was an ambitious little art F-slur, and I thought I'm going to really beef up my international film watching. But also I did take a Spanish cinema class. So I definitely knew who Amenábar was. And I think that's why I searched it. I was like, oh, this sounds juicy and I want to see what it's all about.
Yeah, I was really surprised by this. I mean, like it's not a particularly showy film. It is relatively low budget, but it also, like, I mean, for being 1996, this feels very prescient. And
oh, yes. It is beefy, and I'm not going to lie, folks, I definitely messaged Trace midway through watching this movie and said, this comes out the same year as Scream, and it feels like we're having a lot of the same conversations as Scream.
For sure, but I also think, I said, I feel a little bit of copycat in this movie, maybe a bit more stylistic, but then also the fact that this movie predates both, like, Ringu / The Ring and 8mm is wild to me, because
I saw your Letterboxd review.
I have not seen 8mm in a very long, I'm going to say probably over 10 years, but I remember thinking
future episode on the pod, folks, because that's a Joel Schumacher joint.
It is, but I remember thinking it was god-awful, and
I'm sure it's terrible.
And so I was watching this, and I was like, wow, I mean, I don't know if it's a one-to-one comparison, but I was like, why didn't Joel Schumacher just remake this movie? Why didn't Hollywood try to remake this instead of make some original 8mm bullshit?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how often do you feel this conceit pops up in horror? Because this idea of finding a tape with a real murder on it feels so classic, right? But then I was like, where did this begin? Like, who was the first person to do we shot a snuff film and it's actually real?
Right. Or I found this tape, it looks like a horror movie, but oh my God, this is actually real. Yeah. I don't know, and I did not do that kind of research, so you're putting me on the spot, Joe.
Oh, no, it was just more like I was trying to think of other titles, and many of them do feel pretty contemporary. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there is a 70s film called Snuff that advertised itself as a snuff film, but that was back in the 70s when we also, released porn into mainstream theater. So, like, we were just looking to rile the audience up.
Yeah, and you are right. Snuff was a film from 1976 that was loosely based on the Manson family murders, and
shit.
Falsely marketed as if it were an actual snuff film.
Yeah, gets the tongues a wagging.
Yeah, but either way, I mean, I quite liked this. I didn't have a chance to watch it a second time, but as soon as I finished it, I was like, I want to watch this again.
It's the kind of film that you want to show people because, as you said, it's very prescient, but it's so savvy. Like, I feel as though this is a very straightforward story in a lot of regards, but it's told so well. Like, there's an economy of scale here where Amenábar knows exactly what he's trying to achieve, and the scenes all work in service of it. I think there's a slight draggy bit headed into the climax, but I'm never unhappy with the film because I think it's always doing interesting things.
Well, yeah. So this movie is like just over 2 hours long. So it's 2 hours and 5 minutes. And I admit, when I saw that, I was kind of like, okay, like here we go. I think it's paced very well for the most part. And I think that even though the ultimate identity of like the main villain of the film is fairly obvious, I think the road to get there that is filled with red herrings and a secondary villain. Like, I was kept guessing. So even when we got to the end and I was like, oh, it's Bosco. Wow, shocker. But the road there was so captivating that I kind of didn't mind.
Yeah, and there's always these implications that this is a much vaster conspiracy. So the idea that everybody could maybe be in on it always feels like it's an option.
Well, everybody in the film school could be in on it because this movie is all about film students.
It's true, which is why you know who the true villain is. It's people who make movies because we're all motherfuckers.
And we all want to see violence. Boop, boop, boop.
I guess so, at least in Spain.
But okay, so let's go through the production then. And I will confess, I actually am getting all of this from the booklet that came with my Blu-ray, my Spanish Blu-ray. So this is not a region, whatever the American region is, whatever the U.S. region is.
So maybe you're talking about region B?
Sure, if that's Spain. Spanish listeners, let us know.
Right.
But it was actually very insightful and really informative because this is kind of a seminal Spanish film.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And folks, I'm going to encourage you, if you haven't listened to our other titles by Amenábar or Amenábar adjacent texts like The Others and The Orphanage, I'm going to encourage you to take a listen to those because they're going to give you some contextual information specifically about Spanish cinema, but also the Franco regime, because I will talk a bit about that. And then you're going to tell us a little bit about what filmmaking in Spain looks like.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, Thesis is one of the essential pieces of Spain's cinema for many reasons, but perhaps the most important of all is because it kind of signaled the arrival in the industry of one of the fundamental names behind the camera in Alejandro Amenábar. This is his feature directorial debut, and he had directed a few shorts before this, but this is what made him a name.
Right.
So he was born in Santiago, Chile in 1972, and he came to Madrid with his family when he was just 1 year old. And when he was there, he developed a passion for cinema, and Joe, guess who his favorite director is?
Was it Almodóvar?
No, it was, I asked because it's someone that you would probably not want to hear someone say.
Right.
Steven Spielberg.
Okay. Steven Spielberg. Yeah, that's fine.
It's the obvious answer, right?
Here's the thing. I can't deny that Steven Spielberg was influential to an entire generation. Like, there's going to be a bunch of people who say it was Francis Ford Coppola, it was Martin Scorsese, and it was Steven Spielberg. Like, that's a lot of people's journey, and I can't, diminish that.
Yeah, for sure. And so he specifically says, Steven Spielberg was my director, and John Williams was the composer. That was a big influence on him and a lot of his films. So John Williams' scores do play a part in influencing the score for Thesis, which Amenábar also composed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now, other major influences on his works as a whole are Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, anything by Alfred Hitchcock.
Sure.
Charles Laughton's Night of the Hunter.
Oh, which you still haven't seen. We're going to do one of these days.
I know. I want to see it. It's like, again, I want to see it so bad. The other one, which I thought was kind of an outlier, is Oliver Stone's JFK.
Oh, a little bit conspiracy. Got it.
A little bit. But he says that there are elements of all of these films in Thesis, as well as his own references to previous short films he has made, namely 1992's Jimeno Petro, which co-stars Nieves Herranz, who plays Angela's sister Sena in Thesis, and Amenábar himself as the character named Bosco. So, I mean, like, that's, I know. I don't think it's the same character, but he took the name from
We just like the name. Yeah.
And that short film was about a group of students shooting a horror film in a high school.
Oh, okay.
The other short film that he pulls from is 1995's Luna, so that would have been the year before this came out, and that's about a woman who kills male hitchhikers that she picks up. And while the plot of that doesn't really seem to carry over into this, it's really more so about building tension through conversation that he pulled into Thesis.
Okay.
Now, all of this resulted in a film that not only launched his career, but also marked a turning point in Spain's own film industry. And Thesis, with its overwhelming success, opened doors for many new filmmakers who wanted to explore genre cinema, leading to a variety of films currently showing that would have been much harder to find 30 years ago.
Right, yeah. All of a sudden, Spanish cinema becomes hot, not just in Spain, but internationally.
Yeah, and I actually really do like doing this like on a country-by-country basis, because I know we had similar discussions about Australian cinema when we talked about Picnic at Hanging Rock or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, what makes this all the more fascinating, though, is that Amenábar was a student at the Information Sciences faculty at Madrid's Complutense University, where, after numerous scholastic failures, he had decided to give up studying cinema and began directing.
Okay.
But while he was there, he made many connections, including his now longtime friend and collaborator, Mateo Gil, who does have a story credit on Thesis.
All right.
Now, it was with Gil that he conceived the idea for Thesis while meeting with other film students in the cafeteria of the school.
I mean, it's a great location.
Yeah, exactly. But I think there's a lot more, well, I don't want to say truth to the film, because I don't think he was actually going around watching snuff films, but like the film student community is really, he's pulling from his own life for that.
There we go. Gently autobiographical, or at least he's saying, oh, there's a lot of richness here that I can put into this film.
Yeah, exactly. So the two short films are really important for a couple of reasons, but the big one, in Hymenoptero, it contains part of what he narratively wanted to achieve with Thesis, and that was a thriller in which part of the story was narrated through the camera within the film, and the direct images that from the camera that existed reached the viewer. So the intent was for the camera within the short film to make us, the audience, complicit in the crime. And this is nothing really new. We've talked about this plenty of times before, but I do wonder if maybe like this period of the 90s where we're kind of like, technological advances are being made, where it was a bigger focus in film at the time.
I think so, because even in the 90s in America, we're talking about the rise of something like sex lies and videotape, right? So I think the portability, the economics are shifting where you can get low budget cameras. So all of a sudden it just becomes almost like a class issue. You don't have to be working in Hollywood to make movies anymore, but also then you can start to interrogate people's access to the camera and be like, so what kinds of movies are we interested in watching and making? Oh, why do we like to see violence on screen? Do we like to see it reflected back at ourselves?
Exactly. And I mean, like is maybe a strong word, but I do find it interesting.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Now, beyond the narrative coincidences or Amenábar's own evolution as a storyteller from his short films to Thesis, this also kind of connected him with José Luis Cuerda, who is the director of Spanish gems like 1987's The Enchanted Forest and 1992's The Sow. Basically, he saw one of his short films and went to go meet with Amenábar himself. And Cuerda is like a big name in Spanish cinema. I personally was not very familiar with him. I looked at his filmography and I was like, oh, I don't think I've heard of a lot of these movies, but
I think they're not genre though. They're dramas, aren't they?
Yeah, dramas, maybe even fantasies too, but yeah, definitely not horror films.
Right.
But basically, he invited both Amenábar and Gil to the set of his 1993 film Hitting Bottom when they were both still students. And this is a story that Amenábar has recounted on several occasions and is another of the cornerstones that helped turn Thesis into a reality. So on the set of this film, on this Hitting Bottom film, Amenábar sat in the director's chair when Cuerda had briefly left the set. And when he returned, like, apparently everyone was like, dude, get out of the fucking chair. Like, you're not the director.
That's
like,
not your seat.
Like, you 20-year-old film student. But when Cuerda returned, he was very interested in Amenábar's talent and wanted to talk to him from time to time. So he just kept building a rapport with him, inviting him over. You know, they kept talking. And this is how we convinced him that even before Amenábar finished school, which he didn't, by the way, he had to get to work on his film script and present it to the various production companies in Spain. So, yeah, his advice was, hey, man, I know you're in school, but honestly, why don't you
wait?
Yeah, don't wait. Like, get your film out there, and if it makes it, like, just drop out of school. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, this is also a story that we've heard a couple of times, right? It's people who go wanting to get the technical proficiency that a school offers, but then also you're making short films or you're interacting with members from the industry, and everybody's kind of like, yeah, if you've got those skills, go for it. So it's hard when you've got the connections and people are saying, yeah, make your mark, to say, well, I'm just going to finish through and get this degree.
Well, that's the thing. I was like, what's the comparison here? Honestly, that's like you're in film school in America. Steven Spielberg comes by and says, hey, you want to come on the set of my new movie and let's talk for a bit.
Yeah, and then tells you, go
quit
for
school.
it. Folks, we're saying stay in school, but also film is a bit of a unique exception.
It definitely is. Now, the original idea for Thesis arose at the faculty, as we've mentioned, possibly during those conversations among classmates in the cafeteria. Gil would end up shooting the camera scenes that we see in the film. So I'm assuming that means the snuff films or anything that involves a handheld camera. Like, that was Gil shooting it, and not the cinematographer who was Hans Berman.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing.
Does Gil get an official credit apart from the story?
I don't think so. No, not that I can tell.
Okay. Yeah. I guess we're just putting him to use then.
Yeah. But all of this time, spending time in classrooms at the film school was where Amenábar really learned about going to the film archive, shooting the short films, meeting with classmates in the cafeteria, learning about tunnels in the school, which I'll get to in a minute. It's an experience he champions, even though he's not entirely satisfied with the classes he received, complaining about never having had a screenwriting course, something he does consider essential. But in any case, during the summer, he got to work, turned the original idea into a screenplay he could take to production companies, and he did so while listening to a soundtrack that would greatly influence the tone of the story, its roots, and its rhythm, and that was the soundtrack for Psycho, composed by Bernard Herrmann.
Never heard of it.
I know. All these things where I'm like, yeah, this tracks.
This
absolutely.
makes sense.
Yeah,
this
totally. Like, it's a thing where I'm almost disappointed because I'm like, yeah, these are the obvious answers, but I'm also, but this is 1996,
Right. I mean, yeah, let's not forget this is basically Quentin Tarantino's story as well,
Yeah.
The 90s were right with this kind of auteur, driven from humble beginnings and saying, you know what, I can absolutely fucking do this. I just need to persevere and chase down my dreams. And I'm not suggesting that's that different from other generations, but it feels like there was a lot of them that come from this specific time period who ended up making a massive mark.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so with this script under his arm, I have to say, he was rejected by every single production company in Spain.
Shit. Okay, so what we're saying is the advice was bad and he needed to stay at school. No, because obviously it gets made, so you're going to tell me how that happens.
It's actually, again, this is thank God he knew the Spielberg of Spain. This led him to present the script to Cuerda, who finally decided to do something he'd never done before. Produce a film. Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Hey, remember when you told me to drop out and pursue my dreams? I need you to fund it now, motherfucker.
Exactly. So everyone, don't drop out of school unless you have a safety net in the form of a film director with millions of dollars.
There we go. Yes, get those sugar daddies lined up and then pursue your dream.
Mm-hmm. So thus was born Las Producciones del Escorpión SL, which would go on to produce Amenábar's first 3 films, as well as some of Cuerda's own productions, such as 1999's Butterfly's Tongue, which is apparently one of his big films.
Right. Okay.
Amenábar then began filming for about 5 weeks to bring his debut feature to fruition. So Eduardo Noriega, who plays Bosco in this movie, I recognize the name, but I wasn't sure what I had seen him in. And truthfully, I don't know if I've actually seen him in anything, but Luna, one of those short films, marked Noriega's first starring role in an Amenábar feature, but he would go on to play the lead in Open Your Eyes, which would get a Tom Cruise starring American remake in 2001 called Vanilla Sky.
Yes, and that is where I had seen him before.
And he is a cutie patootie.
He's definitely a cutie patootie. I'm not going to suggest that Amenábar is maybe in love with him, but he definitely loves shooting him.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's that director-actor relationship, right? I mean, he's his muse, it sounds like.
It's the collaboration that works out really, really well, and it doesn't hurt that he's easy on the eyes because it makes him pop off the screen.
Yeah, exactly. One thing, though, so with the character of Bosco, Amenábar said like there's no redemption possible for him in the film because he was clear that he wanted, in his words, the handsome boy, the one who could have starred in the teen series that were so popular at the time, to be the undisputed villain of the story.
I mean, mission accomplished, because I can't see a way that you could redeem this guy.
Question for you. Did you,
Yeah.
I mean, I know you'd seen this before, so you probably remember that he was the bad guy, but do you remember all in your first viewing if you ever once didn't believe that Bosco was the bad guy?
I definitely, for a hot moment, when we get to hear from his girlfriend Yolanda, where she says, oh yeah, it was him and Chema. They were making these student films and they were filled with pornography and they were making girls really uncomfortable. I was like, oh, are we doing a weird Leopold and Loeb kind of thing?
Yeah. I was totally, I wrote that in my notes too. I was like, Leopold and Loeb.
Like, we're smart enough to make a snuff film and get away with it.
Yeah.
So I definitely thought that it was the two of them in cahoots and that they were playing Angela against each other, or like they were playing Angela against herself in a way.
And truthfully, if that was the turn of events, I would have been okay
still
with
would have
that
satisfied,
too. Yeah,
right?
Absolutely, totally fine. Now, filming took place mostly within the faculty itself due to its quote-unquote unmistakable style. So
The architecture is amazing.
Well, so that's the thing. So this movie didn't use any film sets. Everything was shot on location, from houses to the secret tunnels of the faculty. Oddly enough, the faculty was said to have inherited its design from a prison project, which is why the school is so labyrinthine?
Labyrinthine?
Yeah, there you go. Where you often can't tell which floor you're on. And so that's why it was so perfect for the main setting of the action. Like, not even the best of designers could have imagined a labyrinth that served the narrative like the one that was already built in this university.
I love that. And that's the power of location scouting. I mean, obviously, Amenábar was familiar with it because he had gone to school there, but it's just one of those things where you realize, oh man, sometimes you don't need to build it because it already exists.
Exactly. And so then moving on to the score, again, he was really influenced by the music of John Williams and Bernard Herrmann, but going back to Oliver Stone's JFK, said that out of all of these soundtracks, that was the soundtrack that inspired him to compose it himself.
Okay. I will confess, I think I've only seen excerpts of JFK. I'm not a huge Oliver Stone fan, but I could not pick that score out of the lineup. So
I've never seen it, and he's done 3 president movies. I've only seen the one about George Bush, but I haven't seen Nixon, and I have not seen JFK, and they're also all like over 3 hours long. So
yeah, I mean, that's a Stone quality. He likes to make them long ass movies.
Yeah. Okay, so the budget of this thing is
yes.
116 million Spanish pesetas.
Okay, convert that for me.
Okay, it's just under 700,000 euros, which I checked today's rates, and 700,000 euros today is a little bit more than 800,000 US dollars.
Wow. Okay, so this is an under $1 million production. Well, yeah, I'll admit I couldn't exactly tell what film stock we're shooting on this. Like, if you told me we shot this on a high-end digital camcorder, I would almost believe you. I don't know how popular those would have been in, like, 1995.
I don't think very popular, based on how quickly they're able to narrow down which camera was used in the snuff films.
Oh my God, Trace. In my notes, I just wrote in brackets, so fucking 90s. Like, you would never be able to trace a camera nowadays because of something like, oh, wow, this camera can zoom.
Yeah.
It's wild. I love it. This is why I love doing, I mean, oh my God, 30-year-old movies at this point. So.
Now, by the standards of the time, it was a modest sum, but for a debut film, it was a relatively generous budget.
Pretty big, yeah.
Now, granted, though, I mean, 800,000 US dollars, that's today. So this actually might have been like $400,000 30 years ago. Yeah. And truthfully, I would buy it if it was $400,000 because, I mean, there's not a ton of like action set pieces in this movie.
No, though I will say it feels like there's a lot of setups. It could just be because it's also a 2-hour film, but there were a number of times where I just thought, he is getting stylistic with some of this direction.
Yeah.
There were a couple of moments where I thought, oh, that is some savvy fucking direction right there.
I wonder if he maybe also got a bit of a discount because he was, I mean, I don't know if he was still a student at this school when he was filming here, but he was a student at this school.
he probably had a relationship. He had probably ingratiated himself with the faculty, with the administration and so on. Like, I'm sure that they probably liked the idea of saying, oh, wow, we can absolutely say, hey, look, our former student or current student who's about to drop out shot this. Like, what a selling feature for the film school.
Well, and so, but they do say this budget, while it was generous for a debut film, it didn't really allow for much extravagance during filming. But that said, it more than lived up to expectations at the box office, recouping its investment several times over, with about 450 million pesetas, or the equivalent of just over $3 million today. Which again, I'm like, oh, that's not really that much, like $3 million.
Cha-ching.
But for Spain, it is a lot of money.
Yeah, well, and here's the other thing. This isn't just a financial money winner. She is an award winner, Trace, or she's an award nominee.
So it swept the 1997 Goya Awards, again, the Spanish version of the Oscars, winning 7 of the 8 awards for which it was nominated, including Best Film, Best New Director, Best Screenplay, and Best New Actor for Fele Martinez, who plays Shema.
Right. I'm not going to lie, folks. I think that this is maybe too forceful a statement to make, but this rings kind of like a Silence of the Lambs scenario for Spain.
Well, okay, but do you know what the one award that it was nominated for that it didn't win?
Anna Torrent, the lead actress.
Yep, Best Actress. She lost. Funnily enough, though, Amenábar initially wanted Penelope Cruz in this role, but it didn't work out, which is, I think, why he gets her in Open Your Eyes.
Yeah. Which is also a great role for her, and then she gets recast in the exact same fucking role in Vanilla Sky, and then she becomes a huge international star.
She sure does. Now, Torrent, by the way, though, so I wasn't familiar with her, but she is known in Spain as the child star from such big 70s films, like 1973's The Spirit of the Beehive, and 1976's Raise Ravens.
Yes, yeah. So it's a very significant get for someone like Amenábar to cast an actor like this because, well, I will talk about why it's maybe thematically significant to the history of Spanish film in a beat.
Okay. Well, I'm almost done. So basically, to wrap up, Amenábar wanted to beat Hollywood on their own turf, and he succeeded, paving the way for many who would come after him to reshape and breathe new life into the Spanish film industry, not only in fantasy and thrillers, but also in comedy, drama, and crime, and action. So, all the other genres,
so basically every other genre.
The film's success demonstrated that people were more than willing to go to theaters to see Spanish cinema of any genre, and that there were no limits.
Yeah.
And then Amenábar does include a statement with this Blu-ray that I got, and so I'm just going to read the statement just before I pass it off to you, Joe. So
sure.
He says, the plot of Thesis is built on a technological premise, the unstoppable rise of video cameras in the 80s and 90s, a rise that seemed to foreshadow the decline of celluloid and, in a way, of cinema as we knew it. Shortly after the digital revolution, the real one, exploded. What was the fake digital revolution?
Honestly.
Yeah. I don't know.
Shit, I feel like we should absolutely know this and people are yelling at us, but...
Maybe Y2K is the fake one.
Maybe.
I don't know. But anyway, the real digital revolution exploded, and the internet and mobile phones burst into our lives to stay, rendering that aspect of the plot obsolete. However... And paradoxically, I feel that Thesis has withstood the turn of the century with great dignity, and that its main themes are more relevant today than ever. The power of the gaze, the vertigo in the face of extreme cruelty, morbidity, technological alienation, everything that tinges the plot and characters of Thesis with darkness has endured for more than 25 years, to the point that even today, there are still those who congratulate me and remind me that this first work of mine was my best film, a compliment as flattering as it is venomous, which I appreciate.
I was going to say, disagree. It's a great film, but this is not his best film.
And since this thesis deals with technology, formats, and media, and having gone through all the possible ones, I fondly remember that first VHS version. It is an honor for me to present this new edition, the most carefully crafted to date in terms of image and sound quality. They say that horror and suspense films age faster than any other genre. I'd like to think that this disc still has another 25 years to send shivers down your spine. But Joe?
Yes.
What happens in this movie?
Okay, so, folks, the reason that I mentioned you may want to brush up on your Franco fascism knowledge is just because I am going to make a couple of references to it, so I'm going to draw on the work of critic Leora Lev, who wrote a review of Thesis, or Tesis, in Film Quarterly from back in 2000.
Tesis.
Tesis. I'm not even going to try.
It's
I'm
okay.
not up for it tonight.
Again, hey, we've been through it. I'm the Spanish guy. You're the French guy.
Tesis. Okay, so I'm going to begin with Anna Torrent. So as you mentioned, famous child actor from the 80s, and then Amenábar brings her back in this more adult, semi-sexual role, but really it's just more about like, hey, you know this girl, you grew up with her, and now here she is back on your screens kind of deal.
Yeah.
But Lev says of Torrent, although explicit referencing of fascist oppression is absent in Thesis, Torrent's resurfacing revisits conflictual histories told in transition cinema. So she considers this part of the transition. As you said, it opens the floodgates, ushers in a new wave of Spanish cinema, but also it kind of heralds like a different kind of cultural meaning because Spain is constantly trying to reckon with its fascist past, which is hopefully something that the U.S. will do in the very near future.
Yeah, don't hold your breath.
I'm not, but, I'm putting good wishes out into the universe. Anyway, so her presence in the film acts as this kind of bellwether in the transition cinema upon a presumably democratized postmodern Spanish topography. So it's kind of like, okay, we're bringing her back almost to say that was the past and now we're moving into the future because look, she's grown up. She's moved past her childlike presence because the films she was famous for were ones that were integrally aligned with basically dissecting the experience of Spanish fascism under the Franco regime.
This is not a one-to-one comparison, but it's just kind of like my thing where I'm like, oh, I love seeing child actresses like do like kind of like meatier, like adult, like a hard R-rated or horror-y roles when they turn a certain age. And do you think Spanish viewers at the time would have thought that about Torrent?
I think it's a little bit of that, but I think this is more of a cultural signifier. So it's like her presence. Like, remember when we talked about The Orphanage and we talked about the old lady actress and why it was such a big deal that she had been cast in that? It's kind of that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to continue with one more part of the quote and then we'll move into the plot. Okay. So Lev continues on and says, this contemporary Madrid, attractively modernized, and that's in quotation marks, with sleek university buildings, cosmopolitan professors, and carefree students, harbors a darkness, vestigial traces of blood rivalries. So a lot of countries that have experienced fascism, and quite honestly, Spain and probably Italy are the worst in contemporary Europe. Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens in some other dictatorships in the future. Yeah. But they have a tendency to use their cinemas to unpack this. So they can either say, we're going to make texts that explicitly look at fascism and what life was like and what it fucking did to the country and the culture, or you get films like this, which kind of try to make a separation and say, we don't have to be defined by our past. But in this case, Lev is arguing that Thesis actually acts as, oh, we try to bury it, but the rock comes up. So like we've got this shiny new university setting, but we're using the cellars to house these disgusting videotapes of snuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll continue to build on that argument as we go. But
love it.
The film opens with Angela, who is Anna Torrent. She is exiting a stopped train because a man has died by suicide by throwing himself on the tracks. So immediately it's like everyday life interrupted by violence.
Right, but we kind of get the thesis of the film in this first scene, because it's like, oh, she wants to see this man's corpse that's on the train, but she's like, oh, do I want to? I don't, but I do. Even though it's horrible, I want to see it. You have to see it.
Yes, you have to see it. That's the thing. You were drawn to it. And I love that, we've got this train conductor who's saying, everybody form a line, stay away from the edge, don't look, it's really gross, macabre. Like, we learned that he was cut into by the train. And I love that Amenábar slows this down. So we watch as Angela in slow motion tries to approach, and we start to see something, and then she gets pulled away. So it's like this edging that occurs throughout the film.
But because I found myself like craning my neck to be like, can I see it?
What does it look like? I want to see. Because especially as horror fans, like I think that this film is doing a really interesting treatise on the average viewer, but then also because it's a horror film, we're gorehounds, we're edgelords, we want to see the practical effects, we want to critique the CGI and so on. So I think there's almost this double edge to it. Like the critique is doubly so. It's even more apt for us.
Well, but at the same time, though, there actually isn't a lot of on-screen violence in this movie. We see segments of the snuff films, but we don't see the murders. We don't see the gore and things like that. You know, we don't see disemboweling. And even like in the world of the film, not the snuff films, we still don't see a lot of violence.
No, we occasionally see the aftermath, but even then it's fleeting. It's not particularly gory or anything. So yeah, I like that in some ways the film itself is measured, and I think that accentuates how much more we want to see in the snuff films themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we cut to the School of Mass Communications. It is November of 1995, and Angela is meeting with her thesis advisor, Professor Figueroa. He is played by Miguel Picasso, and her thesis is on audiovisual violence and the family.
Which I think multiple times she is asked, like, why are you interested in this? And
yes.
I
Do you think she has an answer? Do you think she herself even knows?
Not particularly. And granted, I've never written a thesis in my life. I've never had to do a dissertation or something like that. So I would assume you would want to feel particularly passionate about it. But
Yes.
I even by the time the credits roll, I couldn't tell you why she has a passion for this.
If anything, it feels like the movie is her examination of why, but she never even elucidates that. Like, she doesn't even say, oh, I'm attracted to violence. She kind of says, yeah, I want to watch it, but, not porn. Like, I'm not interested in that type.
Well, easily accessible things.
Yeah. So it is interesting to me that she's not even interested in something like the news program that closes the film. She wants the hard stuff.
Yes. But even then, though, she can't really bring herself to watch it when it's in front of her face.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if anything, it makes her a more interesting and complicated protagonist because we're trying to get a handle on her, but it also feels like she herself she's not fully cooked. She's not fully constructed in that regard, right? Like, I see her on the cusp of adulthood where she can't really even properly identify what's driving her.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. I mean, I think that Torrent looks old, not looks old, but I think she looks older than 20. But I feel like she's meant to be in her early 20s.
I'm not going to lie, Trace. This just brings me back to our conversation from Doppelganger. I think you have a big issue with women who have somewhat shorter hair because you always age them up.
Maybe that is the case, yeah.
You are very you enjoy femme-presenting women. You want women with long hair.
Well, now I wonder, now I have to look up how old she is. So she was born in 1966. Okay, oh wow, yeah, she would have been 19 or 20. What? Never would have guessed that. wait, I'm sorry, 66. She was 29 or 30 filming this.
There we go. Okay. So maybe that excuses it. So I don't think that she necessarily looks old. I think she's appropriate for a college-age student.
Well, a grad student.
There we go. Yeah.
Which actually, that might be what she is. Whatever the Spanish equivalent to grad school is here.
I think so, because you wouldn't traditionally write a thesis if you were an undergrad student.
Right. Okay. Well, sorry, y'all. That was a roundabout way of getting back to the starting point, but yes.
Here's the thing. You're hearing us work through it live. Okay, so Angela tells Figueroa that she wants access to the archives because she wants access to the really hard shit. And as her thesis advisor, she asks him if he can help her get access to that. And he's like, I'll look into it. I'll see what I can do. But then she decides, okay, well, I'm going to go to the next best source, which is her classmate, Chema, who is played by Felipe Martinez. And she knows that he has a very violent film collection. But he's not interested in her.
I still find it interesting, though, that the school's archives would have something equivalent to a snuff film.
I don't think it has something like this, but I do think it would probably have... I guess it's historical artifacts that are not going to be readily accessible to students or something, but maybe faculty members who are doing their own research on...
Well... And I guess there could be footage of torture and things like that from wars and things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not it's we're taking serial killers tapes. It's no, this is actual violence that's being done by our country to our country, and here's your footage of it.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, the snuff tapes being there just happens to coincide with the fact that we actively have students and faculty who are building a business of snuff films, as we will come to discover.
Yeah.
Okay, so she talks to Chema, and he isn't interested, but their introduction to each other, so we try to talk to one another, and it doesn't go well, so then we just sort of scout each other out across the cafeteria, and I love the dissociation between the visual image and what we're hearing on the soundtrack, because when we're in Chema's perspective and he's looking at Angela, we're hearing his hard rock music. But when we're in her perspective looking at him, we're seeing her classical music.
I really like this. And actually, I thought the sound mixing on this was really, really cool as we switch perspectives.
Yes. Yeah. And this is where I think that the film does showy bits. Like, is this extravagant dollying or split diopters or split screens or anything? Like, no, the film doesn't do that kind of stuff, but it does use its sound and images in a particularly fun, almost playful kind of fashion.
Yeah, this wasn't lazily done. You can tell there was effort put in, even if it's not particularly showy.
Yeah, and I think there's a very deliberate intentionality to it, right? Like, we're trying to see through other people's eyes, but this is Amenábar saying, don't forget whose eyes you're looking through, and that's why the soundtrack is there. So anyway, Chema has his back up against university types. So he's a little bit of an elitist. Like, he clearly is a bit of an edgelord, and he doesn't like people like Angela because she's soft and she listens to classical music and so on.
I will say, though, like Chema is...
Yeah, what do you think of this character? Because I'm not going to lie, I was like, oh, he gives off Randy from Scream vibes. That's part of the reason I made the comparison. Because, you know, he knows everything about film or violent film. He has this massive collection, but also he's very judgy. And like, we will come to learn he's a bit of a perv. Like, he's filming Angela without her permission later in the film.
Well, I guess I knew a lot of people like Chema when I was in film school. I'll put it that way. But I think that Martinez, like, he plays him with...
There's a certain amount of heart, right?
Yeah, like, I like Chema. Even though he's kind of an asshole, like, I like this character. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I would probably, like, get along with this character.
Okay, yeah. The reason I asked you is because when I was looking up Letterboxd just to see if there were some interesting reviews of this film, and I will confess many of them are in Spanish, which immediately took me out. But there were a lot of people who were talking about how this is their favorite character and that they find him incredibly attractive, that they like him the best, that he can do no wrong, that Angela, you know, should have been with him from the beginning. And I thought, oh, wow. Okay, so... people are really fond of this character. Apparently,
that's a little surprising to me. I mean, not surprising, but I'm like, oh, that's really passionate. I guess I'm surprised by the passion for that character.
Yes,
but,
yeah.
Also, did not realize this. Martinez also is in Open Your Eyes. He plays Noriega's best friend in that movie.
Yeah, so he's the third part of that. So he's in love with the Penelope Cruz character, but of course she only has eyes for the hot guy.
Okay.
Okay. So, yes, we end up getting invited to his apartment, and we should note that this is verging on a macabre museum. Like, he has figures in the entryway that look like something that you might see in a gallery, right? Like, they've got swords and things impaled on them. He's got one suspended in the hallway. He's got movie posters everywhere.
Yeah, this just reads like a film geek's room. I mean, like, but we're on our Discord server with our listeners. We talk to our listeners a lot. And, like, I know we have a whole, like, channel in the Discord for, like, merchandise. And so I know that we have a lot of people, especially horror fans, who love to collect, like, figurines and things like that. So this felt... I love the xenomorph, like, thing on the wall. I thought that was really cool. Which I guess today it's not really as impressive, but like in the 90s, we're like, oh wow, look, like that guy knows movies. Because we're pre-Scream at this point still.
Right. And even, let's not forget, he's not collecting DVDs or Blu-rays or 4Ks because in the mid to late 90s, all we had were VHSs. Like in a couple of years, we would have started to get DVDs, maybe, but he's dedicating a considerable amount of money to this passion.
Yeah, college students and all their money, right?
Well, typically you do have a bit more disposable income because, I mean, this is a relatively large apartment. I think he mentions a roommate, but we will never see anyone else in here because the film is relatively sparsely populated. As you mentioned, it's a lot of interiors, but it's a lot of like this person's bedroom.
Yeah, but it's also because Chema is meant to be a red herring for the bulk of this movie's runtime.
Yes, that is true. One other thing of note is that there are two film posters that are prominently displayed in this movie. So in Chema's apartment, we do see that he has a Nightbreed poster. And of course, folks, that would be the Clive Barker film from 1990. Clive Barker being a giant homosexual.
Oh my God, what?
I know. It's just more the fact that the other poster that we will see in Angela's room is My Own Private Idaho, which, of course, is also from a big queer filmmaker.
Exactly. Yeah. To this day, I have still never seen My Own Private Idaho.
Neither have I. It's a huge oversight.
I know. It's one of those big ones. I think it's because, I don't know why.
We need an excuse to do it. That's all.
Yeah. We can do it. Whatever. It's fine.
We can do it. Yeah. Tell you what, when Comrade and I cover it on the queer gaze, you can come on, and then that'll be your excuse to knock it out.
There we go.
Okay. All right. So Gemma unlocks the red door to a very disgusting bedroom. Like, the pillow with what looks like black mold. Honestly, we're covering Hill House, and I thought, he and Hugh could hang out and disinfect that or something.
Yeah.
Super gross. Anyway, he is also a little bit lecherous. He's definitely talking about how Angela is attractive and all this other stuff. But anyway, he ultimately invites her to pick a film from his collection, or rather, he selects one after figuring out she's not interested in porn. So instead, what we get is a Faces of Death style video.
What do you mean Faces of Death style?
I don't think this actually is Faces of Death, is it?
No. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Actually, I haven't seen Faces of Death, so I wouldn't be able to tell you, but I don't think it is.
Okay, well, we're going to have to beef up on that because we're about to be watching that remake.
We sure are. Charlie XCX and all.
Yes. Okay. So, meanwhile, we cut back to Figueroa, and he goes to this record room. So he's investigating on Angela's behalf, but he discovers that in an unusual set of circumstances, he is the second professor to go in there in a single day. And this doesn't usually ever happen. So he's kind of tiptoeing around. He ends up hearing somebody, but we don't get to see who. He kind of hides behind a corner as if he doesn't want to be seen or he doesn't want to interact with whoever this person is. And I feel like this is a partial red herring. We're meant to question exactly why Figueroa is acting so cagey, but he does ultimately retrieve a #1 tape cassette from a hidden room in here, and then he will make his way back to an empty auditorium, and he will begin to watch the film before we fade to black.
Yeah, this is your Ring influence.
Yeah, like what's on the tape? You're not going to find out until later.
And when he watches it, he's going to die.
Well, there is that too. Yeah. So much so that Angela will actually ask, hey, is it possible to watch something and have it kill you?
Well,
and it's like,
we are to infer that Castro does kill him. Like, it wasn't an asthma attack. Or was he so shocked by what he saw on the tape that he did have an asthma attack and die?
I've seen a bunch of people say that he has some kind of heart attack and then his inhaler, for whatever reason, doesn't work, or it's not enough to jumpstart the old kicker or something like that. But yeah, we don't really get confirmation if this was Castro or natural events. But all this to say, the video definitely punts him into the afterlife.
Yeah, I guess, I think I like that better. If it's like what is on the video is so shocking that it literally scared him to death.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He had to have known. He knew exactly where to look, and he picked out video cassette #1. So part of me was like, did he just know that something untoward was happening in the faculty? Or was it that he genuinely, did he have no idea what was on the tape until he played it?
Because, again, we don't get confirmation of this, but, I would find it believable that he would recognize the girl in the video.
There's that possibility too. Yeah, because we will come to learn she was a student just a couple of years ago. Yeah. Okay, so you know what? That probably makes more sense.
Maybe.
All right, so the next day, Angela ends up finding his dead body, and this is, I think, in a slightly comedic moment. There's a couple of fun genre plays in this film, but she has just told Chema that she has never seen a dead body, and then the next scene has her come in and discover her thesis advisor dead, to the point that she touches his face a couple of times.
Yeah, and she broke the seal, and she's like, all right, let's go watch this snuff film.
100%. Oh, well, if he watched and it killed him, maybe I can use this for my thesis project. Girl.
Oh my God.
Girl.
I actually, because there is another version of this movie where, it's more like she is working on her thesis, but it's where she is really disregarding human lives for the sake of her thesis. That's not the movie we're watching, but I do think that would have been interesting too.
There are a couple of times, though, where she doesn't confide in people or she doesn't tell the whole truth, and it does feel a little opportunistic. Like the fact that she takes the tape so that she can watch it herself as opposed to saying, oh, I better turn this over to the police.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I guess that's kind of a big mistake on her part.
Well, okay, I'm going to circle back and defend her from the other position, which is to say she probably expected that he had died of, like, some kind of heart attack or quote unquote natural causes. So she was probably just like, oh, what was it that he was watching that may have had such an effect on him? Mm-hmm. She probably didn't think, oh, I'm about to enter into a conspiracy involving a murder cabal.
Right. And there's no reason to suspect that, like that Figueroa was murdered in this point because there's no evidence of foul play.
No, he actually looks pretty peaceful, apart from the fact that he's dead.
Actually, one thing I actually do find always very disturbing is corpses that have like a look of fear on their face.
Yeah.
So, but he looks peaceful. So, maybe he had a good death.
I mean, no, judging from what we see of Vanessa on this tape. Okay, so yeah, she goes home. She waits for her family to leave for the night because she's got to get to work on this thesis. But really, we're just going to play this tape. And again, this is very much edging the first part of this film because she starts to watch it and then she can't. And then she resumes, but she takes all the contrast out. So it's just a black screen and she's just hearing the sounds of a woman screaming, which everyone who has ever watched a horror film knows is the exact wrong way to do it. She should have muted it and just watched the video because that would have been way less upsetting.
Yeah, way less traumatic. Absolutely. Because even for us who we're watching, we know this isn't real, but like this woman's screams are horrifying.
Yeah, great screams. So the other fun thing is that even as Angela is like not watching this, she has already decided, well, I'm going to just make sounds of this audio so that I can fall asleep to it in bed tonight. And then when her sister wakes her up in the morning, so as you mentioned, her sister is Senna, played by Nieves Herranz, and she has to like run downstairs and grab this tape before she lets her sister check it out. Like, oh, no, that's mine. Don't watch that.
I really wanted Senna to have more of a presence in this movie.
Yeah, she's here almost to up some of the stakes when Bosco becomes more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's another version of this film where you could see, the sisters getting played off of one another by Bosco. Like that moment in the club, it feels like there's some real genuine tension, but then Senna's kind of out of the movie after that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so yes, we have hidden the tape. We have made a recording of the audio that we're just going to listen to on our handy Walkman as we go to class. And we've got a new teacher trace. So we've got Jorge Castro, played by Xavier Elorriaga. And he is taking over for Figueroa, which includes supervising Angela's thesis.
Yeah, and I think that's where, again, it's really easy, I think, at a certain point to figure out, well, this person's kind of shady. And so because Castro is the only other faculty member we really have in this movie, once Figueroa dies, it's kind of like, well, it's Chema, it's Bosco, it's Castro. Like, those are three other primary, and they're all kind of have their toes dipped in this snuff business.
It's true, yeah, which is why I think the film often makes you wonder if it could be all of them as opposed to just one of them.
I was a little surprised, we don't have I think, what was the word used? A cabal of snuff makers at this school, where it's like, there's a whole network of students and faculty members who are partaking in this.
I mean, technically it is. It's
Bosco,
that is true. And then we've got Castro will be revealed to be the editor. So he's not partaking in the murders, but he's definitely going to profit and he knows everything about them.
Can you imagine editing one of these things?
No.
Like, I think it's all bad, but I feel like that would almost be worse than just like being there during the filming of it. I don't know.
Know what's really going to accentuate the impact and get us more money for this snuff tape? How about if I do a little bit of a chop here? Maybe I'll just do a dissolve instead of a fade here when she gets her hand chopped off or something. You're like, what the fuck?
I guess I realized though, because these snuff films are all meant to be a single unbroken take. The only time there's a cut, the only time Castro would have had to have actually edited something out is when the victim said the killer's name.
Yeah, which also feels like this is rookie amateur hour because why are you shitting where you work?
I thought the same thing. I was like, well, because again, this girl went missing 2 years ago and no one investigated anyone at this film school that she was a part of.
Yeah, and we learn later on from Yolanda that apparently there were 5 girls who went missing in that 2-year period. So it's like, you're meant to believe, I think, that many of them were students. So I was like, guys, what are we doing here?
It's a suspension of disbelief. Because also in that booklet that I got with my Blu-ray, they do talk about how it's like, yeah, like, you know, Amenábar admits that, you know, there is a, why doesn't anyone just call the police? But like,
but who cares?
If you did that, the movie would be over in 10 minutes. So there you go.
I literally never watch a horror film and say, why aren't people calling the cops? Because cops are often really boring in terms of driving the narrative. Unless you're making a cop, you know, if you're making a Silence of the Lambs film, then you need that presence. But a lot of the time I'm like, no, if your movie is cooking and moving fast enough, you can get away with having somebody. Like at one point, Angela does call the cops and then she says, ooh, maybe not right now.
Yeah, I think I think I used to nitpick in those kind of ways when I was younger. But like now it's like, as you said, if the movie is good enough and captivating enough, I'm not worried. But if I'm bored, then I'm going to start worrying about those things. Yeah.
Yeah, right. If it's entertaining, I'm nonplussed. If the movie is boring or it's overstaying its welcome, then I'm like, where are the cops?
Yeah,
wrap this shit up. Okay, so yes, we've got Castro introduced as taking over for Figueroa, and then after class, Chema accuses Angela of stealing this tape. So he knows that she was kind of involved, that Figueroa died watching something, and that it's probably Angela who has it. So he starts to try to out her, but it's mostly just because he is also curious, not because he actually wants to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So they go to his place, and this is where she again refuses to watch. So Chema has no problem. He will narrate the events happening on screen as she peers through her hands. This is amazing.
Love the way this was shot. I know.
Yes.
Like it is an extreme close up on her eye that's covered by her fingers. I almost thought we were going to do are we going to see the reflection of the film in her eye?
Oh, that would have been great too.
We don't do that. But while we're doing this though, we can then hear that a chainsaw is activated in the snuff film too, so it's like and that's what makes her open her fingers a little bit too.
Yes, yeah. So I'm going to bring Lev back into this. She says, this is Thesis's leitmotif conflict. So Angela cannot look, but she must look. It is a reaction which mirrors our spectatorial response. For when Angela finally does look, the object of her gaze is withheld from our, as in the audience, our frustrated view, renewing our awareness of our own complicity in craving a glimpse. So as you and I both said, you know, we're craning our necks. We want to see, we hear the chainsaw. Oh my God, show us the chainsaw. How bad is this going to get? And then you realize, ooh, I should not be cheering for this kind of stuff.
No, not at all. But again, that's part of the movie's thesis.
Now, we should note that after watching this, Angela goes and pukes, and Chema is eating chips. So
I think I put he like shoves a mouthful of Pringles into his mouth.
Yeah. So one of the things that he does notice, though, is that there is a digital zoom during this tape recording, and he figures out, okay, so there's only so many cameras that at this moment in time offer that kind of capacity. So that means we can actually figure out what camera model this is and then start to figure out who might have access to it.
As you said at the top of the episode, it's so 90s.
It's so fucking 90s.
Really love. I was like, wow, that is wild.
And this is fun, right? Like, you know, when we talk about giallo, we often say these films sideline the police traditionally because we will have photographers, we will have authors who end up becoming the primary investigator. And then that's kind of what Angela is, right? Like she's our final girl in a conventional sort of slasher movie kind of way, but then she's also this person who is driving the investigation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So she goes home and she notices that there's a weird vibe in her bedroom and it makes her think that somebody has been in there. So she confronts Senna about looking for the tape. We never actually get confirmation that it was Senna, but I think again, due to the number of red herrings in this movie, you could easily be forgiven for thinking, yeah, this could be somebody else.
Yeah. I thought about this actually when the movie ended because it was that loose thread that was still hanging. I actually think it could be Santa was going through her room to find something. It probably wasn't the tape, and it was just something innocent like that. Because I think we're maybe meant to be kind of honing in on Angela's paranoia.
Right. No, and for good reason, right? Like as the film progresses, we realize, oh no, she's right to be concerned because these people can also track her down in the way that she's investigating them. They're doing the same to her. But I think you're right. I do actually think it probably was Senna, and she probably was saying, why is this bitch hiding? What was on that tape that she was so aggressive with me this morning?
Yeah.
We have siblings. We know what it's like. Okay, so before she can really dig into it, this is when Chema calls and he says, hey, I found something else on the tape. And I love that she says, oh, somebody's been in my space. Like, maybe they're spying on us. Has anybody moved anything around your space? And we get this like high angle shot of his bedroom and it is a pigsty. And he just kind of looks around and you can tell that he wouldn't even know if anybody had been in there. And he's just like, nope, nobody's been here.
Looks good to me.
Like, comedy. The comedy beats when they come. They're sparse, but I find them very effective.
But at the same time, like a movie that deals with this material, this isn't like a dour film. Like I don't. This doesn't make me feel. I'm saying it doesn't make me feel gross. Parts of it feel, but I don't
Parts
feel
of it feel gross. But it's not like this. This movie could have gone into a New French Extremity territory.
Yeah. It doesn't make me feel like how those movies make me feel.
Yeah. Okay, so she ultimately goes over to his place, and this is where he confirms that in addition to, oh, there's a zoom that we can use to identify this, there's also a cut. And that tells us that this girl, Vanessa, who, yes, was a student from 2 years ago, she said something, and they removed it from this tape, and they figure out, well, what would she say? Except to identify this man in the balaclava.
Now, there is something I think really off-putting about Chema in this scene, though, because before they realize the cuts, like the victim is like screaming, please, please, please. And Chema's, I wrote mocking the victim, but it's more
100%.
It's
Please,
yeah, por favor, por favor. But I'm like, dude, like read the room. Although I guess it's
like,
your room.
This
so.
this is not fiction. This is not like the other tapes in your collection. Even, the tape that he showed her, I think he says this is an educational video because it's some guy who's, cutting open another person's head, but it feels like he is desensitized to the violence in the way that was very common for critics of especially horror films and, more aggressive media. These are the kinds of people that everyone was afraid we were going to become. Oh, we're just making fun of real people getting killed? What kind of sicko is this guy?
Yeah, because the movie he shows her is something called Fresh Blood, and I couldn't help but think that maybe it was a reference to like Herschel Gordon Lewis's like Blood Feast or something like that, like the splatter films of the 60s and 70s.
Oh, wow. So now you know it's not Faces of Death? Why do we have to go through that entire introduction?
No, I realized that because I yeah.
No, there's no excuse. I've caught you. I've caught you. That's what I'm saying.
You caught me.
You motherfucker. No, but you're absolutely right. It's just like, dude, seriously, read the room. Because Angela is upset. This is where she starts to panic and think, this is really significant. This is a girl that we went to school with just a couple of years ago, and she knew the person. That means that we maybe know the person. That means that they may realize this tape is missing. Oh, fuck.
Well, and of course, the whole thing. Actually, that's also why I want to rewatch the movie, because Chema did know Vanessa, didn't he?
He 100% knew because she was one of the girls that he made a video with Yolanda.
Yes. And so I would love, again, to rewatch the scene where they first watch that tape to see if there's anything in his performance that indicates that he recognizes her.
I wonder if that's why he is so calm, is because he already knows who the identity of the killer is. The interesting thing is that even though he will repeatedly say, the killer is Bosco, he never says it to Angela in a way that would ever reveal that he was involved. Like, you can tell that he likes her. He's coming to enjoy being around her. He does think she's attractive. He's clearly hoping to fuck her because he's a straight man. But yeah, it's interesting that he would never position himself as knowing enough to actually reveal any of this. So he just kind of makes these half-hearted comments like, oh yeah, no, it's probably definitely Bosco. Don't ask me how I know that, though. Okay, so we head back to class, and this is where Castro really lays out his thesis and also presents the case for the modern Spanish cinema. So he talks about how the only way that Spanish cinema can compete with Hollywood is to give the audience what they want, which I think is just such a bizarre message, because I think a lot of people have maybe rightfully read this as a bit of a progressive condemnation of where Spanish cinema could go. So if you try to compete with Hollywood, you're going to make a bunch of slop. But this is what Castro is saying, is like, it's what people want. So if you want to make money, you got to give them shit, which is stuff like violence.
I kind of like that, though. So this is also, because in my production where I said Amenábar wanted to directly compete with Hollywood, this is also, in his own way, a sly critique of the output that Hollywood has.
I think so. It's him saying, I'm going to play your game, but I'm going to do it in my own way. And in the process, the fiction becomes fact, right? Because he blows the doors off of Spanish cinema. And then all of a sudden they can begin to delve into things that go beyond historical dramas. They can start making genre films, comedy films, romantic films, and so on. So it's this hilarious, like, art imitating life, life imitating art thing.
Oh, I like
that. But I'm going to bring Lev back in here. So she says, Castro insists upon the imperative of a soulless, aesthetically bankrupt industry. Audience cravings must drive the market. The force behind a consumerist, sensational, starved, narcissistic society is bloodlust, where art, ethics, and even morality are sacrificed to cash flow. Blood sport will thrive. And of course, this makes even more sense when you get to the end of the film and you realize Castro, like, he's a dealer who's going for his own supply. He's saying, I'm making this kind of art, which is why we should definitely be peddling it.
I love that you're calling it art.
Snuff art.
Yeah, I mean, it technically is art, so yes.
But no, yeah, I mean, we're treating it like a business, and he's trying to sell film like a business. So I do love that Thesis is critiquing that, but then it's also profiting off of it, because this film is, in fact, doing that, right? It's giving us the gore. It's giving us the violence that it knows we want.
I was thinking about that line from Clue, where it's like, oh yeah, he decided to put his information to good use and make a little money out of it. What could be more American than that?
Yes. Or in this case, more Spanish than that. Or Spanish competing with America.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're copying us to beat us.
To profit off.
Yeah.
Okay, so Castro introduces himself personally after class. So he asks Angela, like, hey, I'm going to be your thesis advisor. Do you have anything to tell me? And this feels so double-coded, right?
Uh-huh.
I think at this point, we already know that they suspect she had something to do with it.
100%. And again, like, because Castro, right from the get, I mean, he looks like a professor, but he immediately just feels off.
Yes, the interactions that he has with her, starting here and then escalating to when he invites her to his office, which at that point, he's basically accusing her because he's already reviewed the footage. But, like, there's tension, there's weird discomfort between them where it's like, hey, I'm going to be this new guy. What have you got for me? And she's just kind of like, ick. No, I don't like this. Which, to be honest, feels like a very particularly female reaction. Like some guy comes in and says, hey, I'm going to do this thing. It's not going to be great. And you're just like, shady. I'm getting a bad vibe. I'm going to back away. I don't trust you. So she says nothing to him, and then she's in the cafeteria looking over this research dossier of news stories. Not gonna lie, know what I really wanted here, Trace?
You wanted a microfiche sequence, didn't you?
I wanted a fucking microfiche.
I thought the exact same
where
thing.
Where did she get this dossier of information? Did she not go to the microfiche?
Well, maybe a microfiche is just too passé by this point in the 90s.
I mean, admittedly, yeah, it's 1995, so I think we were transitioning out of this, but a manila envelope with,
I know.
Or a folder with news stories, it just does not hit the same way.
The closest we get is when she's using the computer to find the receipt for the video camera.
Yeah.
Which is very the net.
It is. Same year.
Yeah.
The net comes out in 95, so. Okay, yeah. So she's looking over this research dossier and she's listening to the snuff tape while she's doing this. So our audio, as she's looking through this, we're seeing visuals of her scoping out other students, but she's listening to this woman being murdered.
Yeah. Ugh.
And to me, that's why you can't come down too hard on Chema, because Angela isn't that far removed from him. Like, she's out in public listening to a snuff tape.
I mean, but it's all for the purpose of education, whereas Chema is arguably for the I was going to say for the purpose of entertainment, but actually, it seems like for him, it's more of a collector's thing.
I think so. Yeah, he's a bit of a connoisseur. I think he dipped a toe into it when he was making the videos with Bosco, and then I get the impression he backed away after that. But again, we don't have confirmation of that. It depends on how much you want to give this character grace. Okay, so as she's looking around, she happens to spot Trace a very familiar looking camera. It's the XT5000. Okay. It's on the table directly in front of her, and it is being wielded by Bosco, who, as you mentioned, is played by Eduardo Noriega. So hot. The lips, the hair.
Yeah, he is, again, cutie patootie.
Cutie patootie. I can absolutely see why Amenábar would say, oh yeah, like he could be the guy who gets cast on the telenovela melodrama teen-oriented show. And it feels like that playful subversion here, where you say, he's the Billy of this movie, right?
Yes.
You want to believe that he is good because he is so hot, and you kind of want to see them fuck.
But the way that Amenábar talks, he says, I wanted this type of character to be the bad guy, but like it's like, well, was that uncommon at this time period then? Like, was this more surprising in 1996 than it is in 2026?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, the reason I compared him to Billy is because it does feel like there's a similar relationship vibe, right? Like, I want to trust you because you're hot and because we've got a good thing going, but everything that you do makes me question how much I can do any of that.
Yeah.
And I remember people being surprised, like, oh, how could it be Skeet Ulrich? He's so dreamy.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, but he's a killer.
That's looks evil. He looks evil.
It's all in the framing.
Yeah.
And catch him in the right light with that hair. Anyway, so he has his camera trailed on his girlfriend Yolanda, who is played by Rosa Campillo. And I love this, right? There's double layers of voyeurism here. So it's Angela, in a way, making her own video with just her eyes. She doesn't have a camera, but she's got her own unique soundtrack as she's watching him make his own video of his girlfriend. And we don't even get to see his face. We get to see him from the back with the camera first. So it's almost like this female gaze of a male director shooting a female subject, which is really what the whole film is about, right?
Yeah. It's a mirror within a mirror within a mirror. I kept trying to figure, because Yolanda will die by the end of this movie, but I could not figure out why she wasn't a snuff victim before this period.
I wonder if he was using her as a bit of a beard in a way to like protect himself. You know, I couldn't be this killer. Look, I'm the regular guy with the girlfriend.
Well, and he's convinced her that Chema's the bad guy.
Oh, for sure. Because we will learn later that Yolanda, when she hears word that he is even fucking around or looking at other girls, she's making all kinds of phone calls and calling other girls whores. So, yeah, I think he's using her as a bit of a distraction, but that's more so when things get really off the rails.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think maybe he's just, I can have a regular girlfriend and make snuff movies on the side. Okay, so Angela and Bosco lock eyes, and I love that this turns into a semi-sustained chase sequence because she's like, I've got eyes on you, and then he's like, who the fuck are you? I'm going to come after you, and she just runs for it, and we get this really confusing layout at the university where it feels like, where is she going? And sometimes she's around people, and then all of a sudden she'll find herself in a corridor with no one, and I love it because it's the middle of the fucking day and you truly feel like he could just murder her.
So the booklet with this Blu-ray says, this scene is, in a sense, the film's car chase. And it serves to introduce Bosco and the attraction between him and Angela, as well as the question of whether or not he was responsible for the deaths and whether or not we could trust him. And then it says, a scene reminiscent of 1978's Coma, another inspiration along with 1960's Peeping Tom.
Okay, I'm so happy you said Peeping Tom. Lev will bring up Peeping Tom later, and so you'll hear me mention it again, specifically in the nightmare sequence where Angela wakes up and she thinks she's being recorded.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot to unpack in that scene.
It's honestly probably, it's like this, the finale, and then this chasing that we're talking about right now are probably, for me, the most exciting, fun parts of this film. I just think this is so exciting, and in part because it's unexpected. Like, I don't go into this interaction thinking he's going to chase her immediately.
Well, but it's also because, like, they're in the school, there are students all around, and she does eventually find her way into, like, an abandoned hallway. But either way, though, it's still, like, there's people around you. You could ask someone for help.
She should be safe, but she's not.
But she's not, and that's what makes this so scary, or thrilling, I guess.
Yeah, because she does keep finding her way into populated areas. Like at one point, she ducks into a class and you think, okay, well, now this is over. And then the class immediately ends. Like her timing is just so shit. Everybody just gets up and leaves. And she realizes, I'm alone again, motherfuck. Yeah. And he ends up getting her in the toilet. So he's like grabbing her. He wants to know what's going on. She has to make up this fake lie because by this point, she has also dropped her purse. So he will eventually be revealed to have grabbed her keys at that point. But she makes up this lie because he discovers all of her research about Vanessa. And she says, oh, yeah, I'm working on a thesis project on her disappearance. So this is how she buys herself a little bit of time. And he says, oh, yeah, I knew that girl. She was the best friend of my girlfriend. This is when Yolanda shows up and you think, okay, how much does Yolanda know? How much can we trust this guy? Is Angela even safe? And she's not, because he will then grab her out of the bathroom where she thinks she's like okay to hide for a little bit. And then he's like, no, don't worry. Like you can interview me about it and you can use my camera.
Yeah. And again, he seems so charming, so nice. Nothing could possibly be wrong with this perfect, beautiful man.
Sure. We did neglect to mention that the score really kicks in for this chase. Do you find the score memorable?
I will, because I can't believe we didn't bring up Peeping Tom before, because the Peeping Tom has like a very like piano-heavy score.
Right.
And a lot of, there's orchestra in Thesis, but I feel like in this chase scene, there's a lot of piano. So maybe that's also where the Peeping Tom inspiration was coming from.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me that there's almost like a female chorus.
Yeah.
In parts of the soundtrack. Yeah. Which I just always love. It's such a good atmosphere creator. Okay. So she ultimately accepts. This is the end of our semi-extended, half broken up chase sequence. So, okay, she's going to interview him. She should have questions ready because this is her thesis, right? But of course, this is a made-up fucking lie. So she goes to Chema's and they make up interview questions. And this is where she realizes, I'm down a set of keys. I only have my sister's keys in here. So, oops. That'll come back later. Anyway, then we go to the interview, which we get to watch in black and white because that's what the camera can deliver. So again, we are seeing almost this manufactured second screen. It provides a comforting distance, right? We're not seeing her interview Bosco in real life. This is manufactured. There's the safety of a second screen.
Oh, yeah. The second screen is a safety net. A safety screen.
Yeah, safety screen.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is kind of how Angela has been interacting with these snuff films, right? Like, if she can't watch it on tape, if she can't be there in person, she will cover her eyes using her fingers, and then her fingers become the second screen.
Which, again, as you've already said, girl, mute it and watch it.
or just don't. There's a point where you wonder, if she had walked away, could she have just left it all behind? But I don't know. I think the minute she takes the tape, she's kind of in it.
Well, I think she's a little masochistic, and I think that is backed up by the dream sequence we get later.
Well, yeah. The intersection of sex and violence is also well documented.
And again, a movie where we don't really have that much sex except for this dream sequence.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so she does this interview, and we get Bosco crying these crocodile tears, pleading for Vanessa to come back. And it's a pretty compelling performance. And you can understand, like, the camera loves him. He's so sad. He seems so vulnerable.
And he ends his interview with like Angela, like, if you're seeing this, like, I love you, please come back. And it's like, girl, like, you ain't fooling shit.
Yeah. Even that line. I get it. We can say we love friends, but the way he says it makes it sound like he was fucking Vanessa. And I'm like, that's not your girlfriend. Your girlfriend's her best friend.
Oh, but see, though, were they dating back then? I fully believed. I wouldn't have been surprised if he had raped Vanessa. But, again, like, once it's confirmed that he is not the mastermind, but again, like the filmer.
He's the killer on the tape.
Yeah, he's the killer on the tape. It makes this interview even more fucked up because the way, the way he is able to, like, again, as you said, crocodile tears. It's just really ugh.
Yeah. Well, you understand how he has been able to get away with it. So even maybe if he isn't using Yolanda as a beard, we understand. Oh, he can put on a performance.
Yeah. Because charm goes a long way.
Wow, and white man good looks get you halfway there every time. Okay, so after this interview, Chema definitely settles on the fact that Bosco is the killer, and the only reason that she's not agreeing to this, Chema claims that it's because she wants to fuck him, or he wants to fuck her.
And that's kind of true.
It's not untrue.
Like, it may not be something that Angela realizes, but it's definitely in her subconscious.
Well, it's funny, right? Because it feels like she doesn't want to acknowledge this, even though, yeah, it's absolutely true. That's why she's going to have a sexy sex dream about him.
Yeah.
But then she turns this back on Chema and she says, well, it seems like you two already knew each other. Or like, why are you saying this? Do you know him? And we will come to realize, okay, that's actually an insightful observation as well, because Chema has never said that he knows Bosco. They don't acknowledge each other when they see each other at this interview, but they do have that pre-existing relationship.
They sure do. Yeah, a really intense relationship that would, like, there's no buying. Well, there's no way they would not remember each other.
100%. Yeah. Okay, so Angela goes home and Bosco is waiting for her. He is inside of her house. And
dude,
it's this really fucking scary moment where she just bails and goes to the toilet, locks herself in, and then it immediately flips to become a comedy beat because her mom is there and she's like, look at this lovely, cute boy.
It's wild how often Amenábar and just the movie in general, like, dangles Bosco in front of you. Like, yeah, y'all, he's clearly a bad guy.
Yeah. But no, in this case, we're going to shift gears and it's almost going to play out like a romantic comedy where, why does she think this man is a killer? Look at him. He's so charming and attractive. He's invited himself over for a lunch.
Well, I don't think he invites himself. I think the mom does invite him and he says, yeah, absolutely. This is to illustrate, again, how far his charm gets him, which is really far.
It's really far. And of course, here he claims that he is only interested in helping her out with the interview. So she needs coverage as the interviewer asking the questions so that she can edit it down, make it a usable video. So we go up to her bedroom. This is where we see the My Own Private Idaho poster. And then he films her. So while he's filming her half and like... She is clearly not a practice performer because she's just like, blah, 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 blah,
well,
blah, 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 blah.
I think it's because she's scared. She's actually, so I think she would be good if she was in the right circumstances. But I think, again, like, she, even after, getting here, the mom gives the excuse, dinner's done or lunch is done, whatever. Like, she is still like, this is not, I am really put off by you right now. Even when he does this thing he's about to do with getting closer and closer and closer to her.
Oh, boy. Yeah. So she does take this opportunity to get some information about how long he's had the camera. And he reveals that he's only had it for 4 months and he got it secondhand. But then, he finishes interviewing her and he just presses himself up against her on the bed to the point that she actually has to recline, like lower onto it so that he's basically on top of her. And I would be lying if I didn't say that it was hot and I totally thought they were just going to make out. But I love that underlying tension of, is he going to kiss her or is he going to kill her?
Well, and then the camera is like slowly. Actually, I think with each time Bosco gets closer to her, the camera is just constantly just zooming in very, very, very. It's almost unnoticeable. Yeah.
Do you think Mike Flanagan watched this? Because we talked about some of the zoom ins on
Haunting of Hill House. It's a Flanagan trademark by this point.
Yeah. No, and this is just a good way to build tension, right? Like, it's slowly getting us closer and closer to the action, but also making you wonder, is this going to boil over? Is it going to lead to sex or is it going to lead to death?
Yeah.
And the answer is neither, because it's time for lunch. So we go down and Senna inserts herself into this drama.
Man.
So she's flirting heavily with Bosco and he's flirting back. And you think, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah, Senna is like, just really wants to fuck Bosco.
I think part of this is a bit of sibling rivalry. So this guy's clearly here to hang out with big sister. And so little sister will insert herself into this and try to create a little bit of additional drama or friction.
And it is something where I know I said I wanted more Senna because I find her an interesting character, but it's as it stands, she's just kind of a plot device to just cause some conflict for Angela. Like, she's not really much of a character in and of herself.
No. I think the reason we want more of her is because we like this actor's performance. But I agree with you. Yeah, like, especially in this moment, basically what Senna does is she inadvertently explodes Angela's lie. So what are you talking about? Your thesis is definitely not on that. It's about audiovisual violence in the family.
It really shows her ass.
Shut the fuck up over there. But again, Angela's actually really, really good at redirecting when things get out of control. She's like, you seem to be flirting very heavily. Hey, Bosco, how's Yolanda, your girlfriend?
Yeah, she lobs that ball right back.
But he's pretty good himself, so he says, I'm pretty sure we've broken up.
Yeah.
To which I just wrote in my notes, assured you.
That's convenient.
So anyway, he ends up leaving. Things are safe again. So she calls Chema to say, oh my God, this guy was in my house. And he chews her out for letting Bosco in. It's like, what was I supposed to do? I arrived home. He was already here. My mom had invited him to lunch. So this is where we get the scene where she...
This is great.
She has the worst lie so that she can try to get information about who may have purchased this camera. So the XT5000, she goes to the Sony store, and this woman is like, no, honey.
Yeah.
I'm not falling for this bullshit. Oh, but I have to leave my computer for a moment. Please definitely don't come back here and access anything confidential.
I loved how convenient
so
this
good.
was.
So we see that there's definitely no purchase made under Bosco's name, but we do see that the mass communications department at the university definitely purchased 13 cameras.
13 cameras.
That's going to be hard to track down.
Yeah. Now, do we think that all of these were used for snuff tapes, or was it just like,
No.
okay, yeah.
I think this was purchased by the department so that film students could make short films, kind of like Amenábar did in real life.
Yeah, and then they used one or two
of
for
them was
Yeah.
conveniently used to make snuff films.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we do get this brief scene of Chema considering surveillance cameras outside of the archives. And again, it's this reminder that everyone is being constantly surveilled and or someone has eyes on them. So this voyeuristic idea. I'll bring Lev back in here. She says, hidden lenses in the film are ubiquitous. Security cameras, video recorders, electronic eyes, instruments that invade private personal space with a voyeuristic impetus that ultimately kills. And she associates this with the Franco regime. So again, we're going a bit meta. This idea of Francoist surveillance may be a thing of the past, but an inquisitorial, fratricidal fervor is still fed by this network of spying mechanisms embedded within the architecture of the new, technologically savvy consumerist Spain. So this idea, once again, we tried to leave him behind, but we've actually just incorporated those Francoist surveillance techniques into the new modern Spain.
Interesting. Also, kudos to you for saying some of those words, because that was a word salad for a little bit.
Thank you. I mean, I feel like, folks, you often give Trace credit for his production history. He translated his entire production history from Spanish.
I did, but it was with the use of Google Translate, so I didn't do it myself, I guess. But I did have to transcribe it all, so.
Yes, yeah. It was a large undertaking and something I definitely would not have done unless it was in French. So,
well, that's fine.
Okay, so we see Chema looking at the surveillance piece, and then he eventually bribes the security guard with pornography so that he can get the surveillance tapes. He wants to know who's been going in and out because hypothetically they would have access to the cameras and or tapes.
If the security guard just waits like a decade, there's porn all over the internet.
Truly, right? Maybe not even a decade.
Maybe not even a decade.
We were getting the internet even just a couple years later. I will say, again, a nice comedic beat is, I can't remember if it's here or maybe a little bit later, but Chema will try to break into this door, and then he just discovers it's unlocked, and he could have just used the handle like normal.
Yeah. It's like that scene in Jumanji when the kid's hitting the axe on the shed door, and he's like, oh, wait, I have the axe.
Yeah. Or I could just turn this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're up to the sexy sex nightmare.
Yeah, sexy is how I would call this.
I think this is hot.
It is. It is until it turns violent.
Well, yeah, okay. So Angela wakes up thinking that there is someone recording her while she sleeps using the camera, and she freaks out. She turns on the lights. There's nobody there. She goes back to bed and she falls asleep, but then she wakes up and Bosco has used her keys to enter the house. He comes into her room. He holds a switchblade to her throat to the point that he draws blood. Mm-hmm. And then we start to make out. And then that's when she sees, oh, he did set up a camcorder. It's recording this makeout with the knife, with the blood. And then he stabs her. And then it's the reveal. No, this is all her dream.
I think you're missing out a key part of this, though. So before they're making out, he goes down. He's actually eating her out when she notices the camera.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I was like, okay, this is a really interesting view into Angela's psyche, where it's like, is this something that she actively wants? Is it something that she's actually just maybe afraid of, and that's why she's getting here? Like, because I do think, a big part of her does want to have sex with Bosco.
And I think the answer to your statement is yes. I think, if anything, this is evidence that even though she doth protest quite a bit to Chema when he says, you like this, you're actually into this, you're lying to yourself. I think this dream is meant to symbolize, oh yeah, no, that is true. She is definitely
100%.
into this idea of, I like the violence. It maybe gets me a little turned on, and I'm just not willing to admit it.
Well, and it's like the risk, right? So maybe it is true. Like she does want this, and she's also afraid of it, but she also wants it because she's afraid. She's turned on by the risk.
Yeah. So this is where Lev does bring in Peeping Tom. So she says, Angela is driven by contradictory impulses in which menace becomes indistinguishable from seduction.
Oh, yay! I was
Fear
right.
from desire, and ecstasy from abjection. Angela's extreme psychosexual conflict is put into play in a dream, a nightmarish fantasy sequence framed within meta-cinematic allusions to horror film convention, i.e. Peeping Tom. Folks, if you haven't seen Peeping Tom,
So good.
it's really, really good. But this idea is that the killer kills women with this instrument that's attached to the camera so that he can document their death throes. But it's this very clear sort of symbolic association between sex and death, and then also how the camera interacts with that.
Oh my God, there's so many things happening.
Well, it's very, very similar to a lot of the themes, or the thesis, as you said earlier, of this film, right? What do we capture on screen? How does it turn people on? How much do we want to see? What are we willing to pay to watch it? Okay, so in the morning, Angela covertly sees Bosco and Yolanda kissing on campus. We should note that it seems like Yolanda is maybe also stalking her. She might have been outside of her house.
Again, much like Senna, Yolanda's a bit of a cipher. Like, she's here mainly to move the plot along.
Yeah. Like, she's definitely not her own character, but she does offer us some insight into the nature of how Bosco is operating.
Right.
But yeah, it's like plot development. Okay, Yolanda's gonna drive this wedge between Angela and say, well, he said that he was broken up with her at the lunch, so why is he kissing? Oh, but he's also making fuck eyes at me as I walk by. Well, he's kissing Yolanda, so what am I supposed to do with this guy? The answer is
fuck him.
Kill him. Both.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, she goes in for this meeting with Castro because he has called her, and it's even more tense than it was in the classroom. He begins by questioning her interest in this subject, like, why is this your thesis? She can't really answer, and then he goes, so what's the deal with Figueroa and his death? How involved were you? And she's like, what? And he shows her, bitch, I've got you on tape.
Yeah,
I know that you did this.
This was actually, I thought, a really, unexpected plot development. Like, I was not expecting this to happen this soon. I mean, because we're probably, maybe at the halfway point of the film?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you think, oh, this must be the inciting incident that moves us into the climax. Like, we're going to get to something from this. And you realize, no, we've still got a very long way to go.
And I guess, too, going back to the scream of it all, it is kind of the thing where it's like, oh, yeah, right, it's not just one person doing this. It's two killers.
But I think also, much like Scream, we're tipping our hand and then saying, well, it couldn't possibly be him.
Right.
Because if you think, oh, well, maybe it's Bosco because he's untrustworthy, then Castro comes in and shifts. And you think, oh, well, it's probably more likely him. But then you realize, oh, okay, well, that didn't turn into anything. So maybe it is Bosco again.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, this is a sort of a whodunit, even though it doesn't really seem like the whodunit aspect is kind of like the primary focus of the film.
I don't think so. I don't know how surprised we're meant to be that it actually is Bosco, but I will say, when we get to his garage and we see that
the wall. Yeah.
That is a great fucking moment in this movie.
That's the thing. It's not surprising, but it's still effective.
Yes. Which to me tells me that the film has done a really good job of making me invest in Angela as a character, in the plot mechanics, but also it's just very exciting to watch. Like, I think it's a well-constructed film.
Yeah, exactly. But so yeah, Castro's like, bitch, I got you on tape. I see you found the body, you touched the body, you freak, and then you also stole the tape.
Yeah, and you think, oh shit, how is she going to get out of this? How about a phone call, Trace?
Dude, before cell phones.
She gets a get out of jail free card here because Chema knows that she is going to speak to Castro, and he has his own video evidence. It will eventually be revealed that he saw Castro going into the archives, so he is worried for Angela. He calls her and tells her, run, get the fuck out of there, because Castro is the villain. So she does, and Castro initially gives chase too. So you're just like, oh my god, what?
Because he listens in on her phone call, so he hears everything.
Yeah. I love that we are just doing the like, Mom, hang up the phone. Okay, honey. Press the button. Definitely still listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so she runs, she goes to Chema's, and this is when he reveals, okay, Castro definitely went into the archives, so what we need to do is find a way to get in there and see if there are more tapes, because there are probably more victims. And this is, in a way, if you're paying attention, this is Chema showing his hand, because he says there's probably more tapes because there's more victims, because this is a business. And if you think about it, he shouldn't know that yet.
And I guess this is maybe because I think in my mind, I already assumed there was going to be more than one of these tapes.
Well, okay, when Figueroa grabs the tapes, he takes tape 1.
Oh, right.
And we can see that there's a line of them. But, I mean, we just have to infer that they're all snuff tapes. They could just be like, oh, these are all different.
Porn.
I mean, yeah. I'm not going to lie. I definitely thought it was porn the first time I watched this.
You could also, I mean, technically, snuff films are porn to some people.
Oh, sure. As we talked about, the intersection between sex and violence.
Yes, there we go.
Are we selling this because people want to see people get murdered? Are we watching these because people want a jacket to people getting murdered?
Yeah, all of the above.
We don't know.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like you mentioned earlier that you thought Bosco might have sexually assaulted Vanessa. There's actually no insinuation of that, but also I think it's pretty easy to make that logical guess.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to assume that there isn't some kind of sexual component to all of this.
Right, but then I guess if that was the case, wouldn't you think that Bosco would be masturbating to his own snuff tapes?
I don't know. We never see him interact with the tapes.
We never do.
Yeah. So this is where Chema comes partially clean. So he does mention that he made a film with one of the department's cameras. So that's how he knows that there are cameras down in the archives, probably because that's where he rented them or loaned them out from. He continues to insist that the killer is Bosco. He's worried that she has fallen for him. She's like, yeah, I don't know what I can do with you anymore. I gotta go. So she's very fond of when the situation gets too hot, she will just peace out. So she goes home, and this is where Yolanda is waiting for her. So she confronts her on the lawn and says that Bosco and Chema, they made creepy tapes as a project for one of Castro's classes, and that the faculty member did not react, even though she and Vanessa had a very uncomfortable experience with it. It was not good. They were creeped out.
But she's pinning all of this on Chema. Like, Bosco seems to be like, oh, he was also kind of bothered by this, but Chema, man, I think he killed Vanessa.
Well, she insinuates that because Chema, he knows all these things about violent films, that must mean he's the weirdo, which, again, to me, tracks with the larger societal perspectives on violence in media, right? It's like, if you're watching the really hardcore shit, it's because you are sick. You're going to be a Columbine in the future.
I actually like that then, because again, also having that conversation with Scream about, you know, the influence of violence in films on real life and things like that, where it's like, yeah, anyone would look at Bosco and Chema and say, well, yeah, obviously Chema's the killer. He's the sicko. And that's, yeah, I guess that's why it's very intentional on Amenábar's part to be like, no. The pretty boy's the killer, not the freak.
Yeah. Which I think is why I appreciate that Chema is ultimately revealed to be a slightly misguided, but ultimately good person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so yes, as you mentioned, Yolanda tries to pin all of this on Chema. She definitely says there were a bunch of girls that went missing, and it does seem like Chema knows more than he's letting on. And just in case you don't believe me, here's a fucking picture of these two guys together. So they definitely know each other. They're definitely both lying to you.
Yeah, but they're both on the outs, so it is weird because it almost feels like they were in a relationship and had a bad breakup.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's that Leopold and
Loeb.
Loeb.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Angela confronts Chema about lying to her, and they decide what we need to do is get into this fucking records room. So they're going to find the masters. They get in there because Chema has arranged it with the security guard, and then the door slams, and then the lights go out. I love this sequence. I think in some ways it's very conventional. Like, we conveniently have a pack of matches. The matches go out. Angela gets increasingly more frazzled and paranoid.
So for this, and y'all, if y'all have not seen this movie, I love this scene for the reason I'm about to describe. So again, in this booklet, for Amenábar, the tunnels had to be completely dark because he finds it very annoying when, in total darkness in films, you can still faintly see what's happening. So he wanted total darkness that would engulf the characters, illuminated only by a small box of matches carried by Chema. So the trick was to place a small light in Felipe Martinez's hand to simulate or amplify the light of the match while he told the Oscar Wilde story, The Princess and the Dwarf. And this served to calm Angela, but also create a kind of allegory about her own story. So also, if you look closely, the hand holding the light isn't Felipe Martinez's, but appears to belong to a mannequin or something similar to avoid burns from the light.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Interesting.
And because I haven't seen Night of the Hunter, though, but apparently in this scene, it does include an homage to the moment when the children go into the woods in the Night of the Hunter, a scene that Amenábar himself would later evoke again in The Others.
Okay. I like that. Also, the reference to The Princess and the Dwarf, you mentioned Oscar Wilde.
Yeah.
Gay.
Right. Oh, my God.
I'm just saying, he's pulling in a lot of queer references because these are some of his other influences. Like, he's paying homage to queer creators who he either respects or that influenced him.
Yeah, I really hope that then the queer aspect of it was intentional, where he's like, yeah, I wanted to intentionally seek out like queer creators to put in this film.
It seems very deliberate. Like, as you mentioned, I mean, he's pulling from Hitchcock and Spielberg and all these other things, but like, you didn't need to go directly to like, oh, I want that Clive Barker film. Like Nightbreed, not a big film, folks.
And also Night of the Hunter, directed by Charles Laughton, who was queer as well.
There we go. Oh, yeah, we gotta get Night of the Hunter on there.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we ultimately end up having to burn her sweater because we're gonna run out of matches, and it's this very dire moment where you realize, oh God, what if we just die down here in the dark? When would someone come looking for us? Like nobody, or the bad guys potentially. So yeah, it's a pretty kind of harrowing moment, but ultimately she ends up falling asleep. When the lights come back on, we see that Chema is no longer there, but Castro is, and he just immediately chloroforms her.
Yeah. Oh man. So again, this feels like we're building into the climax of the film, and there's still like an act left.
Yes, because we think that we have revealed who the person behind the balaclava is.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, when she wakes up from this chloroform nap, she is tied to a chair, and this
always a good sign.
Always a good sign, yeah. And you think, okay, Castro's going to start explaining himself. And he kind of does. He says, I'm not the person who does the killing. I just edit the tapes. But you know what? Let me set up the camcorder just so I can capture that.
But though, I believed him in this. I mean, it is true, but I believed him because why would he lie at this point? Sure.
Yeah. He fully thinks that she is not going to get out of this room. So there's no reason to doubt him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to bring Lev back in. So she says the fascist Spain might be buried under a glittering post-Franco society, but consumerist technologies and economies have awakened new decadent desires, as well as summoned back evil energies from the past, like so many returns of the repressed. And the reason I say this is because he reiterates that he's really just giving the people what they want. So he's suggesting that these snuff films are just a more extreme version of what people ask when they're talking about, like, what do I want from a Spanish cinema? Snuff takes maybe a bit extreme, but it's a logical extension of the kind of violent content they want. But again, if you're thinking about this idea of, well, we've moved beyond Franco and this repressive, violent regime that really culturally stifled us. And Castro is saying, oh, well, let's give the people what they want. But really, this is just a new version of what Franco was doing.
Right. Here I am just thinking, like, well, Castro's salary, he's working on a professor's salary, so I mean...
Why does he need money? He's probably pulling in good dough.
No, he's not. He's got a moonlight somewhere.
I don't know. Depending on the size of the college or university, you can make some pretty good money.
Yeah, but I guess I'm thinking, too, like, he probably hasn't made tenure yet.
Maybe. Who knows?
I don't know.
I cannot judge how old this man looks. He looks only slightly older than students. Like, I do think he's meant to be sexually desirable, especially compared to Figueroa, who is, a little bit more father figure-ish.
Yeah.
He's a bit plumper. He's got his lovely, cute beard and so on. But Castro comes in, and I initially thought, oh, are they going to do a weird hot for teacher kind of thing?
I mean, he's 50, by the way, when they're filming this. Maybe 49.
He looks great for his age.
He does look really good for his age. Yeah, a lot of hot men in this movie.
Hot guys in this movie. Gay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Castro's fully going to kill her. He's going to film it, and it's all going to be good. But good thing we've got Chema jumping in, so he fights. We eventually end up shooting Castro. This is all still being recorded, so we've made a new snuff tape, technically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The two of them end up fleeing back to Chema's place.
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I do love just a tiny little bit, but like I love that when they're running out, Chema just like punches the camera down.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's his attempt to say, oh, well, this should destroy the camcorder or ruin the tape so that I can't be linked back to it.
It's just really funny. Like, why not just knock it over? He punches it.
He's got violent tendencies. He's into violent stuff, Trace.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they make a break for it back to his place, and this is when she starts to cry, and he once again reiterates, you really should be looking at Bosco. Like, the number of times he says it, and she just doesn't want to hear it in this film, pretty high.
Well, and I think it's interesting, too, that we have Chema saving her, because, again, at this point, we're meant to be thinking, okay, well, Chema's might be in on this because Yolanda was really adamant about him, like, having killed Vanessa.
Well, unless you read this as, okay, that's proof that Yolanda was misguided and we should be trusting Chema.
Right. Although, again, the movie's going to keep making us think it's Chema until Bosco actually is revealed.
Yeah. I love the back and forth.
I know. That's the thing. Like, it's not surprising at the end, but the journey there is filled with so many, like, zigzags where you're like, ooh, it's not boring. I never feel like I'm... ahead of the film.
Well, and I'm not frustrated with the constant, oh my God, this is an obvious red herring, stop it movie, you're just distracting me, get to the good stuff. It constantly feels like, oh, maybe it is him, or maybe it is them. Yeah. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Okay, so once again, Angela's like, fuck this noise. I don't want to hear about Bosco. I'm going to go home. So this is when she learns that Senna has actually gone out with fucking Bosco. So even if she didn't want to hear from Chema, she certainly doesn't want her sister spending time around a potential murderer. So let's hit the club, Trace.
I am surprised we don't have Senna get killed or be a part of a snuff video before the end of this film.
I think it would have been a much more obvious and predictable route.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, there's another version of this, maybe a more poorly constructed, more conventional, maybe Hollywood version, where, yeah, she goes to find her sister, she just misses her, and then Senna ends up tied to a chair with the camcorder, and Angela has to break in and save her.
Yeah, as opposed to the ending we have, where it's, like Chema. Well, I guess, no, she really kind of saves herself,
She saves herself. Yeah. Yeah,
which is good.
Which is great, yeah. So I love that Angela's way, because she knows her sister, is to say, oh, you think you're here with him? That's my boyfriend. So she just walks up to Bosco. She kisses him on the dance floor. Senna gets pissed and leaves.
Okay, but she goes up, she kisses him, and Senna leaves. But then to like get away from this, just to kiss him again, she goes, oh, I'm going to go to the toilet. And I put in my notes, oh, she's like, I got to go take a shit.
You know what? Now that I'm kissing you, I suddenly remember I definitely got a number 2. Bye.
See you later. Don't follow me.
But of course, he absolutely does, because she is clearly not actually going to the bathroom. She flees the club, and he tracks her down in the street, and we just do a full-on makeout in the middle of the road.
Lying, they're not standing in the street. Like, they fall on the ground, and they're just like making out, lying down in the street.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so cut to a little bit later, and Angela tells Chema that they should definitely go to the police. But we learn here that he doesn't have a good relationship with the police. This feels like a hint of a backstory that we never really get any clarity around. I do also think that we're meant to read Chema as lower class or more socioeconomically disadvantaged. So I think part of it is just he's lived a very different, maybe harder life than someone like Angela.
I also, I think you're spot on there. I also think it's possible that he would have been involved in Vanessa's police investigation.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. But I think your reading is more spot on with what the film is trying to convey.
Right. Yeah. So needless to say, he does not want to go to the police. And so he hits the shower and Angela's like, okay, well, I'm just going to clean up this fucking pigsty of a room and also try to get rid of some of these tapes because they could still be evidence. So she's packing things up. And then this is when she finds a camera in the closet. And he has obviously tried to cover it up with clothes. So it's not looking good. She plays the tape that she finds in the camera, which is marked with her name.
Yeah.
And we get to see that Chema has been videotaping her. And I gotta say, it's really scary. I think anybody who saw, oh my God, somebody's been filming me without my consent, like standing outside my window at night and stuff.
That's the thing. He hasn't just been filming her. He's like been outside her window filming her.
Yeah. So there's that creepy part. But then I do think that there's also this awkward cringe comedy beat where we see her looking at her own footage of Bosco that she has recorded on the TV and she's making out with him.
Dude,
like,
I know.
No.
I know. And again, if this were a 13-year-old girl, I'd be like, oh, that's kind of sweet. But it's a 30-year-old woman.
Well, she just hasn't had a lot of boyfriends. She's really desperate for that first kiss.
But I do like this reveal because it adds complexity to Chema's. Because again, this is creepy. He does not look good with this footage. But I'm also kind of like, yeah, but he's like, I mean, I'm not excusing this behavior in any shape, way, or form, but it's like, yeah, he's just that sad little nerdy guy. He's that kid from American Beauty. He's Wes Bentley in American Beauty.
Yeah. Or, again, I would say he's Randy, where he thinks he's trying to impress Sidney Prescott by being there for her, going on all these epic adventures. Okay, so obviously Angela bails again because this is fucking scary. So she goes home, and this is where she learns from Senna that there has been a girl calling all day. And this is clearly Yolanda. She's just leaving messages calling Angela a whore.
Yeah, because she's obsessed with Bosco. Again, Yolanda, not the best representative of the female gender, but still, well, I guess we don't see Yolanda again except until we get her corpse, do we?
No, we don't. We hear a voice message that she has left for Bosco. So as we watch Angela leave her house in the rain to go to Bosco's, frankly, enormous palatial fucking house, we will learn this isn't even his main house. This is the house that his parents sometimes go to, like, I think in the summer or something.
Yeah.
So he's rich as fuck. But yeah, we hear a message that Yolanda has left for him where she's basically calling him out for cheating on her and spending time with these whores and so on. So I do think this is the film trying to plant one last red herring to suggest, oh, why do you think it's a man behind the balaclava? I think we're meant to assume it could also be Yolanda, who's been killing girls that he's cheating on her with.
I never thought that for a second.
Okay.
But I guess just... I mean, looking back, I'm kind of like, oh, that kind of would have been fun if it was a female villain in this movie. But
to me, it would have been so giallo. It's like, oh, you thought it was a man? Fuck you. It could definitely be a woman.
Yeah, I mean, I guess... Giallo's a really good comparison to this because, that would have felt a bit more out of left field than what we get. So I guess it would have been more genre-y in the sense that, it's a surprise whodunit. But again, I don't think that's what Amenábar's going for here. He's not going for the surprise.
So. No, it's the confirmation of the thing that you've been suspecting or toggling back and forth between throughout most of the film.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she goes to Bosco's house. She demands to know about his relationship with Vanessa. He is like, hey, do you like me? Which is, ladies, if a man asks you this when you confront him about his past, you are being gaslit.
But then he does the same thing again where he's like trying to like move in closer and closer. He tries to kiss her and then she's like, fuck no, dude.
Yeah, we should note that there's been a recurring dialogue motif with a lot of their interactions. So he will constantly use the excuse of, does she know what eye color he has, as an opportunity to get in closer to her. Like, here, let me make it more obvious so that I can kiss you or stab you in your nightmares and so on. Mm-hmm. So we're getting a little bit closer, a little bit more intimate, and then this is when the lights go off. I will say there's a lot of repetitive, almost symmetrical elements that show back up, right? Like Angela's constantly leaving harsh conversations that she doesn't want to have, but also things like, oh, didn't we already do a sequence where the lights went out in the tunnels? Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Because it's still fucking scary. Okay, so we figure this is probably just the fuses. Let's go down and check it out. And this is where Chema attacks because, yes, he has turned out the lights so that he can make sure that Bosco does not kill Angela. Because remember, Chema thinks that Bosco is the killer. Yeah. So we do not fare as well as we did last time. So Chema ends up getting his ass kicked. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. I thought that Bosco killed him. I thought he broke his neck.
I did too. And I think this is a really good misdirect, because on the way there, we have this like raincoat clad figure, and this is Chema,
who's watching her? Of course it's him.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Because again, there aren't that many characters left in the running. So it can only be Chema.
Well, I will say, I think you're also meant to question if it could be Yolanda.
Oh, right, because we don't know if she's dead by this point or not. Oh, yeah.
But no, obviously it's Chema because he's the one who's been watching her the entire movie.
Mm-hmm, yeah. But this, it kind of extends the climax, right? Because technically, we don't need Chema showing up, Bosco knocking him out, blah, blah, blah. We can have it later. So we can cut this out. It doesn't really make that much of a difference, but I kind of like it.
I like it because you think, okay, Chema's already rescued Angela once, so he's going to do it again. This is confirmation that Bosco is the villain, or confirmation that Chema is actually the villain and Bosco is going to be the knight in shining armor. Mm-hmm. But you think one of these two men is going to save Angela, and the reality is, fuck you. Angela's going to save herself.
She sure is. But we got to get through a little bit of a tying in the garage. Well, actually, we have to discover this garage first.
Well, yes. Okay. So we think that Chema has been severely injured, but he's actually still partially conscious. And he whispers to Angela, check the garage. And this is where Bosco has gone to relight the fuses. So she goes out there and this reveal is so fucking good. So she walks out there and we don't immediately see what she sees. We can hear that the garage door is open and there's this torrential rain falling outside, and then the camera cuts to the street, so we get this long shot of her standing in front of the backdrop of what we immediately recognize is all of the snuff films.
And what this looks like, so it's basically almost like a bathroom white tile on the wall, but there's this one strip of red that's just going across it, and I love the way we reveal it. So she looks at it, we see the wall, but then of course we do the thing where we go back to the snuff film, and it's just a focus up on the wall. And I love it. I love it. I love it. It's
so good.
And again, this isn't that surprising, but I don't care.
Yeah. And I think the other reason that it's important that we hear that this is Bosco's kind of summer residence and his parents don't come out here very often is because it confirms, oh, this is why he could kill people here, because he's got all this privacy. But also it's just so fucking scary and nefarious when you realize we put in tiles so that we could more easily wash the blood off. Because 100%. Don't forget that fucking chainsaw.
Yeah, because that's the thing, because they disembowel these girls. Oh, okay. This is so fucking scary when Bosco starts telling her what he's going to do to her, and that one of his skills is that he can disembowel someone, pull out their intestines just so that they won't be killed when it happens.
Yeah. So this guy is a full-on sadist.
Yeah, he is awful. Evil, evil, evil.
Yeah. So we should note that he ties her up. So he's doing his villain monologue while she is tied up, and he's like, I'm going to set up this camera just like Castro was going to, except I'm absolutely the person who killed all of those girls. I'm not the editor. I'm the perpetrator.
Yeah, I'm the one.
So he tells her what he's going to do to her. I'm going to bring in Lev, I think for the second last time in this. So I wanted to unpack Bosco's name for you.
Oh, okay.
So Bosco is Heronius Bosch, the Flemish master of the hellish carnivalesque that disfigures human bodies into unholy travesties of their original shape in the triptych, The Garden of Earthly Delights. So Hieronymus Bosch is an artist, and he created these famous triptychs, one of which is the Garden of Earthly Delights. So this triptych hung in Philip II's castle El Escorial, and it inspired numerous Spanish artists and monarchs and remains in the Prado Museum in Madrid to this day. So the fact that we're potentially referencing this through Bosco's name.
Yeah.
So obviously Amenábar would know this guy. But Bosch's disturbing surreal representations of human disarticulation, things like eardrums pierced by giant musical instruments, passion punished by suffering and castration, it's very similar to Bosco's quote-unquote work with the snuff films.
But also, because remember, Bosco, like the character or the name wasn't originated in this film. It was in Amenábar's 1992 short film, Jimeno Petro. But again, I haven't seen that, so I don't know if it's similar characterization.
Yeah, is it just the name is very striking, or is it I like the artist and therefore I want to evoke the name, and then we really take it to the nth degree, like, oh, this artist does this kind of really abject kind of artwork, and this fits my character, who is a horrible killer.
Yeah, and it just because that short film also dealt with, kids making a horror film. Now, I don't know if that it turns out that one of them was a real horror film. Like, again, maybe it has more in common narratively than I think. I only know the log.
We just don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so I will confess I forgot that Angela carries a knife, so we should note that this is kind of Chekhov's knife because she uses the switchblade to free herself from her bonds that she's tied to the chair with, and then she cuts Bosco when he tries to make a move on her, and then she's got a gun. And of course, he's got his giallo black gloves on, and he's reaching for her, doing his fucking line. Hey, what color are my eyes? I'm trying to distract you with my gorgeous good looks and beautiful hair. She just shoots this motherfucker.
I love it. I mean, it's quick, but I wouldn't have minded if she tortured him a little bit.
I don't know. I think it's kind of satisfying because I did skip over the part where we get the reveal that he has shot Yolanda in the head. So this feels a little eye for an eye.
Yeah, I could see that. Okay.
Also, we should note, once again, we have had a camera recording all of this, so we continue to make snuff films. So Angela has now inadvertently made 2 snuff films.
Hey, you know what, though? She can make money off of them.
I mean, I bet she could. Yeah. So, cut to the schlocky opening credits of Justice and the Law, a crime show outlining the details of what is now being called the Snuff Girls case, which is so fucking true crime.
So boring.
Yeah. Okay, this is my final Lev piece. So she notes that the snuff perpetrators have been dispatched, but they have been transmuted into legitimate news footage. So we have taken the sort of sordid affair, what these guys were trying to do, black market, underground, and so on. We have legitimized it by now moving it into something that we can just air on television for the masses.
I found this fascinating. And
this is great. I love the way this ends.
Well, okay. They're going to literally...
They play the tape.
Yes. So all these Spaniards get to watch this woman get disemboweled, beaten up, murdered on cable television.
Yeah. And Trace, you are fooling yourself if you think that we haven't done this before, because we have absolutely shown real life murders on air, on news, like 5:30. I remember when I was growing up, there was a segment where it was like, this person is about to get shot. Content warning. This is really graphic and it may disturb some viewers. And you're like, no, you're literally showing someone getting killed. That's a real person.
I get that. And look, I guess maybe I shouldn't be distinguishing between, oh yeah, I'm looking at security footage of someone getting shot and killed versus I'm literally watching someone torture, disembowel, and murder someone in all its gory details.
Yeah, it is wild. Like, we should note that this is sort of interlaced with Angela making, a relationship olive branch offer to Chema, who is recovering in the hospital. So she gives him a copy of The Princess and the Dwarf. It's got a private inscription that says, fancy a coffee. So we're going to embark on a romantic relationship. Yay! But while this is happening, everyone is watching this news program. So we exit the hospital, and as they're walking to the elevator, we see every single patient is watching this report as this newswoman basically says, we think the violent images are of interest to you. The violence speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And that's how the movie ends.
It's almost like a virus, this desire to watch violence is going to keep spreading. And also kind of tying back into The Ring a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love this ending. I think
it's
so, in some ways, it's maybe a little heavy-handed, and I don't fucking care.
It's satirical, though, and I like that about it.
Yes. It's very pointed. Like, if this was the French New Wave, this would be Godard saying, hey, you motherfuckers, I'm essentially removing the entertainment factor of this and making you aware of your complicity in this. But I think Amenábar is saying, no, it can still be entertainment, but I still want you to reflect that you are all of these people looking at the violence and deriving pleasure from it.
Yeah, so it's like, you should also probably feel bad for watching this movie.
Maybe a little bit. Or think about, why did you want to see that snuff tape so badly when Angela first put the tape in?
Yeah. Or why did you want to look at that body on the train tracks?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Really good movie. Really good movie.
Just super enjoyable.
Yeah. I had never heard of this film until we covered the others. And so I imagine this is going to get fewer downloads than most of our regular episodes. But if you've made it this far, please watch this movie. Again, search for Tesis on Shudder. Don't search for Thesis because you will not find it.
Right. I won't lie. I'm surprised that we never got an American remake of this.
That's what I'm saying. What?
Well, I guess, as you said, 8mm is right there.
8mm is the thing. I genuinely am surprised. Or even a modernized version of this, too. I don't know.
Actually, because I still have not seen it. A Serbian film?
Kind of. Yeah.
Or maybe it's just, snuff films in horror films. We've done it forever.
Well, it's kind of like that, but it's set in the world of pornography because the main character in a Serbian film is a very famous porn actor. The character is.
Right.
And it's he gets lured in by doing one more film, but it's a snuffy porn film. And he's okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like the cops, my last day on the job before retirement.
It's my last getting hard on film before I hit retirement.
I'm really excited for you to finally watch a Serbian film because I do think you will, if not like it, I do think you will appreciate it.
I mean, we've covered some really hard shit on this podcast. So, yeah, I'm up for it.
Yeah, one of these days. Listeners, not quite yet.
Yeah, also, up for it? No, you don't get it. Okay, it's fine.
No, like a penis being up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Anyway, before we announce what we're covering next week, y'all, some quick housekeeping. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can reach us on Blue Sky and Instagram at HorrorQueers. Shoot us an email at horrorqueers@gmail.com. Find us on Letterboxd to keep track of all the films we've covered. If you want to chat with other listeners, please join our Horror Queers Discord. If you have a moment, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you want more content, including ad-free main feed episodes, a new addition to the Patreon feed, please support the show by becoming a patron at patreon.com/horrorqueers. If you subscribe today, on top of those ad-free main feed episodes, you will also get 463 hours of Patreon content, including this month's new episodes on Psycho Killer, The Bride, Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, Scream 7, an audio commentary on Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, and our continuing coverage of Mike Flanagan's The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah, we're making our way through.
Now, Joe, we missed a Friday the 13th in February, but we've got one next week.
We do indeed, yes. We're not going to do them for all of the 3 Friday the 13ths this year, but we will do it for the second one. So, folks, we were like, which one should we do? We've done all the really gay ones. So now we're just going to go chronologically. So put on your 3D fucking glasses, everybody, because we're talking Friday the 13th, part 3.
Well, chronologically, we haven't covered the first one.
We've got a mini-sode on it.
We do?
Yeah, on the Patreon.
Oh, man, that was a long time ago. But yeah, that's fine. Have you seen 3, Joe?
I think I've seen all of them, but I don't remember 3.
3 is one that I really like, and I discovered later, like in my late 20s, that it is really not a favorite among most Friday the 13th fans. Like, a lot of people, this is like the bottom half of their rankings, sometimes even the bottom quarter.
Yeah, because I remember when we were discussing which one we should do, we were like, well, we haven't done 4, and that's a really good one. So I was leaning towards that, and you said, but 3 maybe we should just do it because like all of the Friday the 13th sort of feed off of the previous one. So it was like, well, we've kind of done one. We've definitely done two.
Yeah, we definitely done two, yeah.
So maybe we should do three. And I was like, all right, I guess.
Hey, you know what? That just means next time we'll do 4, and then we'll do 5, and then we'll do 8.
Yeah, and then I think we're done.
I think we're done.
Yeah.
Freddy versus Jason, I guess.
There's Freddy versus Jason, and my God, if we end 2026 and we don't have that Camp Crystal Lake TV show,
oh my God,
heads will roll.
Well, anyway, okay. Well, y'all, come enjoy Friday the 13th Part 3 3D next week because it's going to be fun, and we're going to find out together if Joe has seen it or not.
There we go. Yes.
But until next time, we can cross out Thesis.
Indeed, and cross out horror queers.